Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Back at you with a new video. Today is Saturday, September 13th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ORION NWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the number 4 Oregon Ducks versus the Northwestern Wildcats. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 to 10 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for some early college football. And we are double dipping today. So obviously I'm doing number 4 Oregon versus Northwestern. And then later tonight at 6:40 Pacific, we're going to be doing the Los Angeles Angels versus the Seattle Mariners, game 3 in the set. And then tomorrow we also are going to be double dipping by doing the Mariners at 1 Pacific, and then back-to-back with Sunday Night Football with a rematch of the Natty with J.J. McCarthy for the Vikings versus Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons. So definitely excited for this long weekend of amazing sports of college football mixed in with the NFL and the MLB. Definitely looking forward to this first road matchup and the first big game in the Big Ten. And again, last year's team was pretty deep. This year, it feels a little bit different. And again, I think that, we know Ohio State, is the number 1 team in the land. And at the end of the day, we may have to beat them, to, potentially win the Natty if we can even get there. But one thing is for sure, Oregon is one of the best teams in the nation. There is no doubt about that. I mean, we know, Ohio State is great. Penn State looks good. LSU, Texas, Oregon. So there's quite a few teams, that are in the top 5 and in the top 10. But if you really break down these teams, there may only be, 2 or 3 legitimate national championship contenders. And in my eyes, Ohio State is definitely one of them. And I definitely believe Oregon is another. Dante Moore is a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. We have a more depth this year on the roster. We ended up getting some big transfers as well, like Bear Alexander from USC. And it just feels like this team could go a little bit further. And obviously Chip Kelly, with his play calling, punched us in the mouth last year. He's moved on to the Raiders, so we don't have to worry about him. Ohio State's defensive coordinator moved on to Penn State. But then they ended up bringing in Matt Patricia. So we definitely know Ohio State is the real deal, right? But again, besides them, I feel like the Oregon Ducks are going to be able to match up with pretty much anybody. And then the 2 biggest tests for Oregon this year are going to be on the road at Penn State, which we potentially could lose. And then the last game of the regular season on the road in Seattle versus the Washington Huskies, who are my sleeper team in college football in 2025. Again, at some point or another, they're going to crack that top 25 and start climbing. Damon Williams is great. Jonah Coleman is one of the best running backs in the land. You got David Boston's son, Denzel Boston. You got a good offensive line, and I'm really looking forward to that Oregon-Washington rivalry. But again, today we have to go with the game number 3, 2-0 Oregon Ducks versus the 1-1 Northwestern Wildcats. And this is the first game in the Big Ten. And this will, show that last year's team, if you noticed, early in the season, we had some struggles, on the road, and we started slow, and there was a few upset alerts like Wisconsin. This year, it hasn't been the case, and we've been blowing teams out. And again, we'll see how the Oregon Ducks react. But I really think the one thing that separates the Oregon Ducks from a lot of the other teams in college football is one simple thing: Dan Lanning. And if you have Dan Lanning, yes, you have Uncle Phil. Yes, you have Nike. Yes, you have the helmets and the uniforms and the sponsors. We have all that. That is true, right? But one thing that the other teams don't have is Dan Lanning, and he's a great coach. He's a great motivator. To me, he's a top 3 coach, in college football, and he has been for the last couple of years. And again, this will be a good opportunity to show Northwestern fans, as well as fans across the land, that this team is better than last year. We were good enough to win the Natty last year. Ohio State beat us fair and square, punched us in the mouth early. No one expected for them to score 28, right away. And again, we had no answer for that. Dylan Gabriel, as a lefty, did the best that he could, but the defense let us down. And this year, the depth is here. Dante Moore is a better quarterback. We have more depth at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Offensive line and defensive line is better. And again, I'm very excited to be able to see what we get here this morning. And again, it's early, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're not really used to that as Pac-12 fans transitioning to the Big Ten fans and whatnot. But again, this is something that we're going to have to experience moving forward. Obviously, with Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA now part of the Big Ten. And I'm definitely ready for the challenge. Let's go, baby. I'm ready. I had to hit you with a beautiful thumb here. Big Ten, Oregon Ducks, number 4 in the land versus the Northwestern Wildcats. Let's go, baby. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Saturday morning. Ronald in the building, what's good? Cole in the building, what's good? And Ronald getting us started off quick with $1. And again, every dollar counts. I appreciate that on the Dono train. $1.99 to go to hit our goal. Appreciate you. And if there's a particular athlete that you want to be able to showcase on the college football ranks, whether it be on Oregon, Northwestern, or another individual that you want to be able to showcase, let me know, and I got you. I'll try to fill those in, obviously, in between the commercial breaks. And again, it's going to be a long weekend. I'm going to be watching a lot of college football. We'll be doing this stream. We're going to be doing the Ducks later, the Mariners later at 6:40 Pacific against the Angels. And then tomorrow we'll be doing Mariners and Sunday Night Football between the Vikings and the Falcons. And obviously, Monday night, there's a doubleheader, and we'll be doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Houston Texans, the first game. So I'm definitely going to be soaking in a lot of college football, a lot of NFL, and obviously soaking up the Mariners win streak. We are 6 in a row and, going 7 in a row. And again, we won the last 2 games against the Atlanta Braves. We ended up sweeping, the St. Louis Cardinals, and then obviously winning the first 2 games. So 7-game win streak. And again, we need to win today and win tomorrow. And if we can go 9-0 in this little stretch, all we have to do is go 8-4 the rest of the way for the Mariners to hit 90 wins. And again, the next series coming up are on the road against the Royals and the Astros, which we should match up well, even though we're not very good on the road. And then the last 2 series will be against the Rockies and the Dodgers at home. And somehow, some way, if we can win today and tomorrow and go 8-4 the rest of the way, that'll put us at 90 wins. And that should get us the top spot in the AL West over the Astros. Astros and Rangers have been threatening, as of late. And again, Red Sox and Yankees, Tigers and Blue Jays. It's very, very interesting. And we'll see where it goes here later today. Brian Wu on the mound. And then I believe it will be Logan Gilbert or George Kirby, obviously, tomorrow. Someone can peep into that real quick and take a quick peek here. I'll take a quick look. And usually I look ahead in the schedule, but today is Brian Wu. So, and again, normally when we end up playing the Angels, it's not easy. Usually it's a little bit of a battle and whatnot, but let's take a quick peek. And we're going to get ready for kickoff here momentarily. So Brian Wu versus Mitch Ferris. And Ferris is 1-0. Obviously, Wu is the 2025 All-Star, 13-7. So we feel very confident with that. And then in tomorrow's matchup, that'll be at 1:10 Pacific, and then I'll be going back to back, and it is George Kirby. So we got Wu and Kirby, and they're undecided on who's going to be pitching tomorrow. So again, normally if it's the regular season, sweeping the Angels is ridiculous to even mention it. Normally it's like split, and they play us really, really well, just like the Athletics. We actually have more success against the Astros and Rangers than we typically do against the Athletics and the Angels, playing down to the competition. It's not only a Mariner problem, but it's a team problem for a lot of teams across the land. But again, we're really locked in, just like the Oregon Ducks right now. And it really feels, that the Mariners and the Ducks can make a really deep run. And, 2 of my favorite teams that I represent, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. But if we end up getting a Seattle Mariner World Series and an Oregon Duck Natty, I know this channel will end up going to heights that we've never seen before. And again, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but it definitely feels like within the next 5 to 10 years, the Ducks and the Mariners will have a very good chance, to be able to make the championship game and possibly win it. And that's a pretty exciting thing, for someone like me that's been a fan of these teams for, 30, 40 years. And again, it's not like the Mariners have been that good. We've had 4 good years in 40 years. This year will be the 5th good year, of quality baseball in 40 years. The Ducks have been great, since the 2000s, with Joey Harrington. But, being a fan in the 80s, when I started watching them in the 80s and 90s, there was a point where they were only winning like a game, So again, we've come a long ways from winning a game or two, and then going from, the Rich Brooks era to the Mike Velotti era, to the Chip Kelly era, and then going through a couple scragglers like Taggart, and then Cristobal, and then finally finding a guy that we believe in that's like Chip Kelly, but they can also go further than Chip Kelly. And you got to remember, Chip gave us, an amazing run in a 4-year span, Rose Bowl, Natty, Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl. But with this Dan Lanning, at head coach, as far as a motivator and someone that is super intelligent and always make sure that Oregon is prepared. And I think really that's the key in any type of success that you're going to have and any type of goal that you have, whether it's myself on YouTube or someone like him as a head coach trying to win a natty, the more preparation that you have, the better that you're going to do. And again, this team is locked and loaded and we are ready to go. Cole with $1. Appreciate you. We're at 2. 9 minutes to go to hit the goal. Let's go, baby. And I had a hard time sleeping last night, and again, I get it. It's Northwestern, and again, they're unranked, and obviously in the pre-show, they're, wanting to say overrated. But if you saw the Ducks play in the first 2 weeks, there's nothing overrated about us. And again, they start their classes on Monday. And again, the Mariners may not be very good on the road, but we'll find out how good the Ducks are, here on the road. And I definitely feel they're going to play similar to they, have at home in the first 2 games. And they're looking very clean in these kind of retro throwback unis. And every little subtle detail has been improved in the uniforms, from last year to this year, looking fresh, looking clean. Dante Moore is a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. Kind of feels more like a Bo Nix type. And again, going with a righty, getting more depth on the offensive line and defensive line, getting one of the best freshmen wide receivers, 5-star blue chipper recruit, and DeCorian Moore. When you have more to more connection with Noah Whittington and 4 or 5 different running backs, it's definitely going to be a very exciting day. And, the game could essentially be over, within the first half. And the best part about this game is you get the 2 best announcers on planet Earth, Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. I mean, these guys, hands down, are the best in college football, and they are right there with Nance and Romo. And I honestly feel that if we had Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt doing NFC games, on Fox, the viewership would be much higher than Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, even though they've been doing it for a long, long time. Because Gus is one of those guys that brings the excitement with his voice, and it's not forced. Sometimes when you listen to announcers, they scream and yell, or you see guys on social media or on podcasts or TV just trying to get clicks, and I really feel that with Gus, super intelligent, just like Joel Klatt. They're a dynamic duo. Joel is super intelligent, giving you all the information that you need with the stats and the analytics as color, and then obviously play-by-play. Gus, nobody is better. And Jim Nance is the best in the NFL, but I really, truly feel Gus is the best on planet Earth, and I'm really excited to be able to see what he's going to be able to bring here today. Kirby and Liam Hendricks. I like our chances of getting that job done here. Let's go. Yeah, last time I checked, when I pulled it up on, at least the ESPN app, MLB app might be a little bit different, but it had undecided when I just pulled it up. But if you say Liam Hendricks, then I believe you, and we'll see where it goes. And again, we might end up losing to Penn State on the road, and that's okay. We might lose to the Huskies on the last game of the season on the road, even though we feel that we, are better than everyone on the schedule. We don't have Ohio State or Michigan on the schedule this year. And I think Michigan we would easily beat, but Ohio State definitely we could lose. They are the best team in the land, and I really honestly feel Oregon is right there with them. Even though we're ranked number 4, at some point we are going to be ranked number 2 right next to Ohio State. And again, I can't wait to be able to see what happens. And there's a very good possibility that the champion in college football this year may be the Buckeyes or the Ducks. And I wouldn't want anything other than that. Honestly, after they beat us last year, if we could have a Buckeyes, Ohio State Buckeyes, Oregon Duck rematch, and then Oregon ends up winning, nothing would make me happier than getting payback, for a team that beat us. And again, I like our chances to be able to see where we can go in 2025. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Yeah. And again, we're hot right now. So again, we're feeding off the momentum, not only Oregon, but for Seattle as well. And again, 8-4 is what we need to do if we can win today and tomorrow the rest of the way. And again, out of those 4 losses, you would assume if we can, lose maybe just one game, per series, one against the Royals, one against the Astros, one against, and maybe 1 or 2 against the Dodgers, and then sweeping the Rockies at home, because obviously they're a bad team, that would make sense, 1-1-1-2, or even if we have to split with the Astros and then, depending on if it's a 3-game or 4-game series, we'll see where it goes. But I definitely like our chances for the Ducks and the Mariners to go on a very deep run here. And we're just about getting ready here for kickoff. Let's go, baby. Go Ducks. Let's go, baby. Jaden Lamar deep. And here we go, baby. And this is a very cool setting with the water, in the background. And you normally aren't going to see a college football stadium, with river, lake, ocean nearby. And pretty cool setting here for college football in week number 3. Most touchdown passes in the first 2 Oregon starts since 2016, Justin Herbert. And we've had a nice little run of quarterbacks as of late. Herbert and Bo Nix and Marcus Mariota, Dylan Gabriel, and Dante Moore will be a first-round pick next year in the draft, unless he decides to come back. But again, I would assume that he'll end up, especially if we end up going to the Natty, I assume that he'll end up going. And hopefully we can strike early here. First down and 10. Shotgun set, 3 wide receiver set, handoff right up the middle. And Lamar with a gain of a few there, rumbling and a bumbling. 7-yard gain, second down and 3 for Oregon here early. Let's go. We're so deep at running back as well. No Whittington and about 4 or 5 guys behind him. Second down and 3. Shotgun set. Dante Moore. Little check down. And just short of the first down marker. Jaden Lamar with the catch. Looks like it's about 3rd down and 1. Three transfers up front on the offensive line. And again, just to be able to have, the depth that we didn't have last year. And again, having a 5-star, wide receiver in DeCorian Moore, who is kind of like a DeAnthony Thomas. We haven't had that explosive player. And the Jeremiah Smith factor for Ohio State was a big reason why they ended up winning the Natty last year. And we have our very own Jeremiah Smith in 2025 here on the Oregon Ducks. Handoff up the middle. First down, Oregon. Move the chains. Let's go, baby. Otto Saka, one of the big boys up front for Northwestern. Ducks haven't given up a sack within the first couple games. And again, so improved on every layer, offensive line, defense overall, skill position players. And Dante Moore with the screen pass, blockers downfield. And there's Dak, baby. First down, Oregon, move the chains. And he will also be a first-round pick down the road when he goes into the NFL draft. Can't wait to be able to see Jeremiah Smith and DeCorian Moore whenever they end up going to the NFL. But that more-to-more connection is one of the best in college football. Dante to DeCorian. Play action fake. Dante Moore with a laser and incomplete into triple coverage. And more-to-more connection, incomplete. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and we'll be looking for 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Second down and 10. Lamar, and he gets popped. Also with the tackle there, 3rd down and long. Third down and long. 3 wide receiver set. Now it goes to 4 wide receiver set. Trips right. Shotgun set for Dante Moore. Good protection up front. Avoids a sack lunge. Has to do a 360. Little check down and a great tackle there by Northwestern. And Oregon will have to punt. Good defense there by Northwestern. And again, when you end up going on the road, even if you're putting up 50, 60, 70 points at home, it's a different environment, a different field, fans booing you instead of cheering you. So for them to go and punt on a first or second drive doesn't really surprise me. You typically would expect them to start a little slow on the road, no matter who you're playing, and then eventually to pick up the pace as the game goes on. 4th down and 9 at the 50, and Oregon with the smart decision to punt here. And down to about the 9-yard line. And hopefully we can end up forcing some sack lunches, some pick sixes, and obviously fumbles for touchdowns is, the key that you want, going into this matchup for our first game here in the Big Ten on the road. 2-0 Oregon Ducks, number 4 in the land versus 1-1 Northwestern. Yeah, well, unfortunately, Bob, we don't have a kicker that can make an 80-yard field goal. So, you're not going to kick a field goal that's 65 to 70 yards. So this is not the NFL. And even NFL, kickers aren't that consistent nowadays. They have a hard time even making extra points or even field goals that are chip shots nowadays. Three for 4 for 13 yards early for Dante Moore. Carries there by Lamar and Davison. And again, going with Dak, Lamar, and Davison early in the passing game, and definitely excited to be able to see what this defense can bring. And we're going to have to bring the pressure early and often. $76 subs to be able to get to 21,900. And we were just at 21,700, hit 21,800. And again, we're getting very, very close to hitting that 22,000 number, which is very exciting. And then obviously the goal from there is to hit 23, 24, and then eventually 25. 11:22 left in the first quarter, 0-0 early between Oregon and Northwestern. And I'm glad that this game is on early, so that way I can end up, taking a little bit of a break and resting, eating some lunch. And then obviously we got the Mariners that we will be doing at 6:40 Pacific. And again, we're going to be looking for our 8th straight win in a row. And then tomorrow will be a little bit more difficult because I'm only going to have a little bit of a break in between, maybe like 30 minutes, where we're going to be doing the Oregon Ducks, Seattle Mariners at 1:10 Pacific. And then Sunday Night Football will be around, 5:15. So I'll probably get about 30 minutes or an hour in between, I'm hoping. But unless the game goes in extra innings, where we had back-to-back games for the Mariners that went 4+ hours. So hopefully that is not the case today or tomorrow. Preston Stone coming in at quarterback, 14-4 record, career as a starter for Northwestern, transfer from SMU. Yeah, Mets are definitely reeling right now. And the Giants were great until they kind of hit a wall, and, seasons are tough, in baseball. You definitely have to go through the peaks and the valleys. I wouldn't mind if the Giants made it over the Mets if you could make a wild card. Play action fake. And a nice pass there. Griffin Wild with the catch. And again, every single game that Oregon plays on the road, if they start up a little slow, it's not going to be that shocking. You can't expect them to play the same way at home as well as on the road. Usually there's going to be a little transitional period there. 2nd down and 2. Shotgun set for Northwestern for Stone. Hands it off and gets that first down. First down, Wildcats. Move the chains. Ducks defense is something special, let me tell you. One of the best defensive lines we've been able to construct for quite some time. Betcher and Jackson in the middle. And on the back end, we typically go with a combination of 5 corners and safeties. First down and 10 for the Wildcats. At the 22. Play action fake, little bootleg, rolling to his right. Stone ducks on the conversion and steps out of bounds before the hit comes. And at the end of the day, if we don't end up winning by, 30, 40, 50, 60 points like we were at home, that's totally fine. Obviously, you want to be able to have a dominant win. You don't want to just win by 3 or 6 or 10 when you're a top-tier team in the top 4, but we'll see how this game progresses. 2nd down and 10 for Stone. Hands it off up the middle. And rumbling and a bumbling. 8-yard gain. Flowers with the tackle. 3rd down and 2 for Northwestern. And Northwestern looking pretty good here early on with a 1-1 record, representing here the Big Ten. Uncle in the building, what's good? I got a lot of Duck gear that I can't wear, unfortunately, because when you have a green screen, if you end up having yellow or green, you just disappear and I'll be like a floating head. Handoff up the middle. First down, Wildcats. So it's I got, Knicks jerseys, Herbert jerseys, green apple. I ended up, getting this amazing black and, green Duck hat that it's one of the ones that's player issued that the players wear on the sideline, but I can't wear it, on stream. Otherwise it'll get all distorted and whatnot. So that's the one shitty thing about having a green screen is if you end up having any merch that is yellow or green, you can't wear it on stream. And I have quite a bit of green apple merch or stuff that would be fresh on stream that would look good, but we got to make do. Luckily, I have enough white and black and other colors to rep. Handoff up the middle on 1st down and 10, short gain. And Northwestern looking good here early on against the Oregon Ducks. But we will be doing the Mariners later today. And obviously, these are my 2 favorite teams outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Love the Mariners, love the Ducks, and I have for 40 years. And, can't wait to be able to see how this progresses for the Seattle Mariner run. 7 wins in a row. We're going to be going for 9 in a row. Winning today and tomorrow and sweeping the Angels. And obviously Oregon beating the brakes off, 2 teams early on. And again, we will see how things progress here in game number 3 against Northwestern, our first test on the road and our first game in the Big Ten. 2nd down and 6. Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson on the mic. Shotgun set for Preston Stone. Almost picked. Oh, what happened to my hands? Betcher is a stud, and he got his hands on it. 3rd down and long. 3rd down and 6 for the Oregon Ducks. We need sack lunches, we need picks, we need fumbles, and we need pressures. And obviously Betcher as a linebacker, super athletic, and there definitely are going to be a few 1st, 2nd, 3rd round picks on this team. And again, Dante Moore, much better than Dylan Gabriel. We got a 5-star blue chipper at wide receiver that reminds us of DeAnthony Thomas and DeCorian Moore. And we got a lot of great pieces on defense as well. 3rd down and long. Handoff. Bouncing it to the outside, and it looks like he gets the first down. First down, Wildcats. Move the chains. Yeah, and the only problem about college football, with 100 Division I teams plus, is that you don't really get that many great matchups week in and week out. You usually only get a couple, per weekend, depending on how many teams that you face. But when you do, get a big one, then it's a little bit more amplified. Like when we end up going to Penn State shortly on the road, we're definitely going to have a chance to lose that game. And again, if we lose to Penn State and lose to Washington on the road, it actually might be a good thing. That way that you continuously play in the college football playoff instead of going 12-0, having a month off and then losing like we did last year. So, if they're going to keep the format the same, it's actually going to be penalizing you if you go undefeated or you go 11-1. So if you end up going, 10-2, that might actually be kind of the sweet spot in college football, as long as you can get into the college football playoff. Losing 1 or 2 games might be better than going undefeated, unless they change that rule. Mike in the building. What's good, brother? 4th down and 1. Oregon needs a big stop here. Northwestern has looked good here early on at home. 4th down and 1. And 1st down, Wildcats. And I like the energy that the Wildcats are bringing, playing with no fear. And again, Oregon, a little bit of a slow start here. And again, nice little direct snap by the Wildcats, causing a little bit of confusion for Oregon's defensive line on the shift. 6:36 left here in the first quarter, 0-0 here early. Preston Stone at quarterback, shotgun set, trips left, man in motion. Oh, they got a little trick play. Pick it off. Oh, incomplete. And the Ducks were not fooled. They had 4 defenders on Covey the 4th and pass incomplete on that trick play. 2nd down and 10. And this is a global broadcast on Fox for Big Noon Saturday. And again, best announcers in the world, with Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. They're right there with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, and they are my favorites. And I usually wake up early, even if it's not the Ducks playing at 9 a.m., just to listen to them, call a game. That's how good they are. Second down and 10 at the 46. Shotgun set, trips left. Handoff up the middle. And we need to rip that football out. And again, Northwestern getting some good blocking up front from their offensive line. And at some point, Oregon's defense has got to make a play. Happy birthday, Mike. I'm excited for the Ducks and the Mariners here today. And I'm going to be, checking in on a lot of the other college football games throughout the day, keeping tabs on the Astros and the Rangers as well as the other teams in the American League, position-wise. And hopefully the grilling goes great for you. And I look forward to seeing you later on for the Mariners stream later this evening. 3rd down and 3. Shotgun set for Preston Stone. Hands off. Tackle his ass. There you go. Flag on the play. Hopefully that's a hold on Northwestern. They played pretty clean up to this point. Marine Bean in the building. What's good? My puppy is 4. Just turned 4. American Staffordshire Terrier with a little bit of a pity mix mixed in. So I think Paisley's dad was, American Staffordshire Terrier at half pity, and then the mom was 100% American Staffordshire Terrier. So she turned out very beautiful. When I look at a lot of photos of other dogs of that breed of American Staffies, I haven't really seen too many that, look like her. And again, to have that light brown fur coat with a little white mixed in, great personality, and definitely has made my life a lot better, in the last 4 years. No doubt about that. 3rd down and long here for Northwestern off the penalty. And Oregon is looking for a stop. Let's go. Shotgun set. Pressure coming up the middle. And intercepted. Go, baby, go. Go, baby, go. Betcher, baby, go. Look at his athleticism. Holy cow. Breaking 8 tackles. And down he goes, and Oregon's about to score, baby. Defense wins games. Defense wins championships. Let's go. And you better not throw it right in the middle. And it's one of the best linebackers we've had in years. And off the tip, right into his hands. Beautiful. Betcher is something else, maybe. And again, he's a guy that could have played baseball as well. So when you get a guy that's an athlete that can play baseball or football, unbelievable play there with the deflection. Preston Stone, good deflection there by the Ducks. And it goes right into the hands of Betcher, and he ends up breaking 8 tackles and getting a good gain. And now Oregon is threatening to at least put up a minimum of 3, but we're looking for 6. Let's go, baby. And the game is a global broadcast on Fox if you want to watch along. Let's go. All right, Dante Moore now at the helm. He will be a first-round pick. Much better than Dylan Gabriel. He's more similar to Bo Nix. And again, I didn't mind having a lefty. And a little trick play, fake reverse, and short gain. And again, Dylan Gabriel was kind of like Tim Tebow, except not a good runner. And again, if you're going to be a lefty and you're not going to be as smooth as Michael Penix Jr. was for the Huskies, you better be able to run also. And there was times where Dylan Gabriel could run, but he was just kind of, not as methodical and smooth as you would want. It was kind of robotic in his throwing motion. And so now being able to go back to a righty quarterback and not having to flip the plays as a lefty is making us obviously stronger this year compared to last year's team. 2nd down and 8. Shotgun set, Lamar in the backfield. Play clock winding down, handoff up the middle, breaks 1 tackle, breaks 2 tackles, 3 tackles, first down, Oregon. Move the chains. There we go, baby. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. First down and goal for the Oregon Ducks here on the road. Little screen pass. Moore with the catch. Avoids 1 tackle, 2 tackles, and diving for the pylon and missing. Yeah, Herbert, we've had a lot. Marcus Mariota, great. Not a great really pro player, but a great, obviously player in the college system, winning the Heisman. Justin Herbert and Bo Nix are the best Oregon quarterbacks that are in the NFL right now. Dylan Gabriel is on the Browns, but he seems more like a backup quarterback. He might be better than Shedeur Sanders, but that's not really saying a whole lot. And again, we'll wait and see how each guy develops with Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel. Dante Moore hands off. And Northwestern with the stuff at the goal line. 3rd down and goal. But again, to be able to have Herbert and Bo Nix, they are very special. And again, you are going to see Dante Moore as a first-round pick next year. And hopefully when he goes to the NFL, it'll be a national champion. And we need to punch this football in right here. We don't need to get too cute with the trick plays. We need to be able to have that offensive line impose their will. And we're 3rd and goal here. Nice little shift here by Oregon. Dante Moore calls motion under center. Little flip to the left side. Touchdown, Oregon. What a play. Touchdown, Jaden Lamar. Beautiful misdirection. 6-0 Oregon, and we're not looking back. Let's go. And you go motion to the right. It pulls, obviously, that linebacker. That shows you that they're playing man, not zone. You flip it to the left, and there was nobody over there. And Jaden Lamar gets that tutty, and it looks like they're going to be going with the Chip Kelly, going for 2. Nope. They end up going for an audible and taking the Atticus Sappington extra point is a smart way to go. Extra point is up and good. 7-0 Oregon. Let's go. And it shows you how good Herbert obviously has been able to develop with Harbaugh, beating the Chiefs, which have been a very good team for many, many years. But you had a feeling at some point the Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders were going to catch up. And to be able to win that first game in Brazil was pretty big. And again, this might be the first year that we don't have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But as long as they're in the AFC, you can't really count them out until the season is over. But obviously the Bills and the Ravens and a few other teams are salivating, licking their chops at the chance of being able to represent the AFC. And then right now, if you're watching the NFC, it clearly looks like the Packers, the Eagles, and the Bucks might be the top dogs. In the NFC, there'll be a few other teams that will be going up and down in the rankings. But to me, those are the teams that look pretty special here early on. And we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the NFL develops. 7-0 Oregon, baby. Let's go. Great start for the Ducks. And again, I had a hard time sleeping last night and, anticipating, the Ducks and the Mariners. It's always a fun time, but also, I got to make sure I rest my voice, since I'm pretty much streaming every day. And if I do 2 in a day, I can't be doing too many back to back. Luckily, we have a good break in between this and the Duck game, about a 6-hour break between the Ducks and the Mariners, so I'll be fine there. But tomorrow will be a little challenging, doing the Mariners and then going right into Sunday Night Football to watch a rematch of the Natty between J.J. McCarthy, Michigan, and Michael Penix Jr. and the Falcons. That should be pretty fun and entertaining in that matchup. I don't think anyone really anticipates too much. We know the Falcons are going to be a little bit better. We are anticipating than last year, even though the Bucs did beat them with a missed field goal by Koo at the end, thank God. And Falcons, could be a wild card team. And I don't know if anyone anticipates the Vikings, being a wild card team, but it kind of feels like Detroit is going in the wrong direction. The Bears will be at the bottom, and there is a chance, if the Detroit Lions kind of go backwards slightly from the last couple years, that potentially the Vikings could, I'm not saying they will, but they could get second place behind the Packers, and they might be able to make a wild card spot themselves. So an intriguing matchup, obviously there. And then we have a doubleheader on Monday Night Football, but we're going to do the Bucs and the Texans, and that'll be at 4 Pacific. And then I believe it's Raiders and Chargers, I believe is the second game. So we'll see where it all kind of goes, moving forward, but it should be a fun weekend for the NFL and college football. We got the Commanders and Commanders in Green Bay on Thursday night. We saw Green Bay impose their will. Rams and Titans, Jacksonville and Cincinnati, Cleveland and Baltimore, Buffalo and the Jets, New England and Miami, San Francisco and New Orleans. And obviously they just lost Brock Purdy for 2 to 5 weeks, so Mac Jones is there. Saints might be one of the worst teams in football, but we'll see where it goes. Giants and Cowboys, Bears and the Lions. Seahawks versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Seahawks go to 0-2, it's going to be a long, long year. Broncos and Colts should be interesting. Panthers and Arizona Cardinals. And then the best matchup of the weekend is going to be the Eagles and the Chiefs. And if the Chiefs drop that game, they're going to go to 0-2. And that will be very interesting to see if that ends up happening or not. Great interception by Betcher to put us in position for that touchdown with Lamar. 7-0 Oregon. All right, kickoff here to the Wildcats. Ooh, nice return here by the Wildcats down the sideline, almost to the 50-yard line. Wow. Let's see what Preston Stone has got cooking here for the Wildcats on this next drive. Big noon Saturday, 7-0, Oregon. Let's go. And then what do we got here early? We got Clemson, who's getting upset early here by Georgia Tech. Early 3-0. Oklahoma up on Temple, 11-0. Alabama trying to recover from getting destroyed early on, up 7-0 against Wisconsin. Michigan up 14-0 against CMU. And then later on, we're going to have Auburn, USA, Miz and UL, Penn State and Villanova. And then the one that I'm kind of keeping my eyes on will be Georgia and Tennessee. And obviously game day was there. That'll be on 12:30 ABC. So as soon as this one is over and I take Paisley on a walk, that'll be the game that I'll end up watching. And, I'm really, really big into college football. I like to be able to scout the players, because you never know what player and might end up on your favorite team, and it's really good to be able to kind of monitor the college football scene. I also will be watching number 18 USF, that's had a great start to their season, and they're going to go to Miami, who's number 5. So USF legitimately has a chance to upset Miami, and we'll see if it ends up happening. I'll be watching that game in entirety as well, so I'll be double dipping with that one as far as matchups here after Oregon. Looking forward to that. Georgia, Tennessee, USF, and Miami. Those are going to be must-see TV for me. Let's see if there's anything else later on. Oh, yeah, and A&M and Notre Dame on NBC at 4:30. I'll tune that one in before we go into the Mariner and Angel game as well. So some pretty good matchups. I mean, some weekends are going to be a little lighter than others, but week 3 has got at least 3 or 4 decent matchups with ranked teams, which is good. And then I'm definitely looking forward to next week. On the schedule, where we got our former rival, the Oregon State Beavers. They don't call it a civil war anymore, but that one would probably get pretty ugly, you would assume, early and often, but we will find out. Go Ducks. my pup in the background. She's barking at some dog out there. I'll have to go check up on her in a minute. Thumbnail turned out pretty awesome. And again, I wasn't really sure, depending on, the uniforms that we're dropping every week, if I was able to, get things to convert. But again, luckily we're able to do that. And at some point we'll have more options for Dante Moore and Decorian Moore as well. All right, here we go. Back to the action. All right. First down and 10 here for Preston Stone. 7-0 Ducks here early. And again, had to punt on their first drive, but got a big pick by Betcher and a nice gang tackle by the Ducks. Gain of 2 yards. Wow, $800 million they're investing, huh? That's good to see when you can get smaller schools to invest, in the programs. And you have to if you want to be able to compete in this college football scene, in 2025 and beyond. Less than 2 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Second down and 8 for Preston Stone. Shotgun set for Stone. 2 wide receiver set. Shotgun set. Hand off. Nope. Play action fake. Stone looking, and going to a check down and incomplete. Oh, did he catch that? Short gain there. Let's see if he actually does catch the ball or does it hit the ground. Yeah, it looks like it ended up kind of hitting a little bit of the turf there. All right, third down and 14 now for Northwestern, and the pressure is on Preston Stone to get his main stud Wild the ball at wide receiver, and hopefully Oregon will be able to force a turnover or a punt, and then we can get up on them again with another touchdown or field goal. Third down and long, third down and 14, 4 wide receiver set. Stone, throw to the sideline, and incomplete, and Northwestern will have to punt. Let's go. Let's go, baby. .39 seconds left here in the first quarter. Oregon up 7-0. And we obviously have natty aspirations. We know that the Buckeyes, Penn State, Texas, LSU, there's a lot of great teams, Georgia, that are in the college football scene. But I really do feel that Oregon is at the top, with teams like Ohio State. I don't really feel that even some of the other teams that are in the top 5 are on Oregon's level. But again, we're going to have to prove it, week in and week out that we belong. And sooner than later, we'll be ranked number 2 right there with Ohio State. And again, we'll see how this year progresses with Dante Moore at the helm, which we are very confident and excited about. Going to a commercial break, 32 seconds left in the first quarter. Yeah, I like LSU a lot too. I think, again, Georgia, LSU, Texas, Ohio State. I mean, pretty much if you look at a lot of the teams, that are in the top 10, especially in the top 5. But as anyone knows, just because you're in the top 5 or top 10 doesn't mean that you're going to be there all year. At some point, teams are going to fall off. But again, there are quite a few teams that I do like. But definitely the Buckeyes are the, cream of the crop, but Oregon is great, and again, LSU, Georgia, Texas, there's quite a few others that are kind of making a name for themselves. And, if you're looking at depth, some teams have a little bit more depth than others. And that's really what's going to separate some of the contenders from the natty, and maybe teams that are, pretenders, but they're still going to be really, really good. They're just not going to be, making a deep run in the college football playoff. Maybe they'll get there, but they might just lose in that first round. So 32 seconds left here in the first quarter, 7-0 Oregon. I like LSU too. I mean, LSU has always traditionally been pretty good. And again, they had one of the best college football teams of all time, led by Joe Burrow at quarterback. That team probably had the most swag out of any college football team of all time, Clyde Edwards-Helaire that went to the Chiefs at running back. And then you had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at wide receiver. I mean, that's insane. You had 2 of the top 4 wide receivers, or 2 of the top 3, and you have one of the top 5, top 6 quarterbacks in the NFL. And obviously Clyde Edwards-Helaire never really panned out, but that was a very, very special team for LSU a few years ago. And I'll definitely be keeping tabs on LSU and Texas and many, many others, throughout this college football season. Preston Stone, 2 passing yards, 2 for 5 with a pick. And obviously Komolafe, 5 carries for 23 yards and only 1 reception to their stud receiver Wild for 8. And that's not going to do it, for Northwestern if they want to be able to keep up. 4 for 5 for Dante Moore, 20 yards. Lamar with 22 rushing yards. And you would assume they're going to go running back by committee. And hopefully we can get Dak, more receptions. He's got 2 receptions for 18 yards here early. And we'll see where it goes here. We definitely want to be, up by a certain amount. And as far as the Big Ten Conference is concerned, it's like a little ridiculous on how many teams there are in the Big Ten. It's like 2 divisions put together. Indiana, Illinois, Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, USC, Washington, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Northwestern, and UCLA. And it would have been better instead of bringing UCLA over if we brought Utah, to the Big Ten. That would have been smarter as like a better quality, team. But, UCLA more of a basketball school rather than football. First down and 10. Oregon, Dante Moore with the bootleg, a little check down, and a great gang tackle there by Northwestern. They were not fooled. Catch to McClellan. And that's a short gain of a yard. And the clock is starting to run out here. See if we get one more snap in before the quarter ends, but we don't need to rush it. Second down and 9 with 10 seconds and counting. And I think they're just going to let it run. Yep, and that is it. End of the first quarter. Oregon Ducks 7, Northwestern Wildcats 0. And I assume, once we go into the second half, things will start to open up. But a little low scoring early. But again, traditionally, Oregon, when they do play on the road, early in the season, there are going to be games where it's a little sluggish and you're just trying to figure your opponent out. And obviously we play much better at home, just like every team does, rather than on the road. But to be up 7-0, we'll take that. Yeah, after we play Oregon State, and we know we're going to win that game by a lot, then we are going to potentially get our first loss against Penn State. And again, that environment, they're going to be rocking. Everyone's going to be rocking the white towel. They'll probably do a whiteout. And it'll be probably one of the most electric scenes in college football. And again, can Oregon win at Penn State? Yes, but will they? They may not win. That's a hard environment to win at. And again, if you look at the way that the college football scene is, right now, obviously Oregon lately has been able to beat Ohio State at home or on the road in the shoe. Obviously, they got payback in the college football playoff against us when it mattered the most after we beat them in Autzen as one of the best games in Autzen Stadium history. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But, we'll see where it goes. And I really like the Huskies, this year. I feel that they are the sleeper team in college football in 2025. No one's really talking about them. Damon Williams, the quarterback, is like Kyler Murray. They got arguably one of the best running backs in the country in Jonah Coleman, who was great last year. They got, David Boston, the former wide receiver, in the NFL. His son, Denzel Boston, is there. They got 2 or 3 awesome offensive linemen. They got a good defense. And again, for only winning a few games last season, I would assume that the Huskies are going to really start to show people how good they are as a sleeper team in 2025. And I usually watch all the Husky games. I keep tabs on the Beavers and the Cougars for the, obviously Oregon State and Washington State. I like watching the 4 teams, but I definitely always keep tabs on the Huskies. And usually they play super late, sometimes at the end of the, college football slate, like at 8 p.m. and whatnot. So it doesn't really interfere with my Duck game. And I like to be able to scout them, but also to be able to see the players. And then obviously for the Tampa Bay Bucks, There's a lot of Huskies on there. Jalen McMillan, Vita Vea. We just got Tez Johnson and Bucky Irving. So it's a nice blend of Ducks and Huskies on my favorite NFL team too. So that's another reason why I like to pay attention so closely there. So yeah, obviously the spread, it was pretty high there. I think most people, if you were looking at the spread, 25.5. So, it was usually in that 25.5 to 27.5 range, and we could still, you could still get it. It's just that we ended up punting, on the first drive. We ended up getting a pick by Betcher, and then we ended up scoring. But, there's a feel-out process, and just because we were able to score 50, 60, 70 at home, you have to realize when we're on the road, sometimes it's going to take a little time, to get the train going. And again, sometimes you're going to start a little slow, like a lot of, teams do. Like, remember, Ohio State, even being the best team in the land, they are going to start slow like Oregon on the road sometimes, even against an opponent that has no business really competing with them. And again, even though it's 7-0 now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to end up getting your 27.5 spread. There, it is possible that we can go on, a few big plays, a fumble for a touchdown, a pick six. Hell, we had 2 pick sixes back to back last week, and I've never seen that. And I've been watching the Ducks since the mid 80s. So, the Oregon Ducks are very well coached by Dan Lanning. We're 27-0 versus unranked opponents. And even though it doesn't look like you're going to hit your spread right now, that does, and it's 9 a.m. too. Yeah, exactly. See, it's not like in the afternoon or the evening. They're just wiping the crust out of their eyes and they're on the road. So, again, if you end up getting your spread, it's still possible that that could happen. 2nd down and 10. Shotgun set for Dante Moore. He will be a future first-round pick in the draft. Little check down. And also, you got to give Northwestern credit here in the first quarter, as well as we're going into the second quarter. They're playing pretty good ball. They're not missing tackles. They're getting pressure on Moore. Not necessarily making him uncomfortable, but their running game and passing game early, even though they didn't get points, they were getting a few first downs, which was a little shocking. Oregon's defense is much improved from last year. And this team, definitely can go deeper with Dante Moore at the helm compared to Dylan Gabriel. 3rd down and 2. Man in motion. Handoff up the middle. 1st down, Oregon. Move the chains. Oh, yeah, we're not getting 70. There's none. Yeah, that definitely isn't happening. I mean, right now, based on how the game is going, it feels like we're going to get, somewhere between probably 28 and 48 points. And that really depends on the defense. If we can end up getting some pick sixes, fumbles for touchdowns, then we might be able to get closer to that, 40 and up range. But if we don't, then it might be in like the high 20s, mid 30s before this game is up. But Oregon has a fashion to strike quick. So little screen pass. Go, baby, go, go, go. 1st down, Oregon. Move the chains. Kenyon Sadiq, arguably one of the best tight ends in the country. Dante Moore, one of the best quarterbacks, a Heisman candidate. And then we have one of the best freshmen in the land, just like a Jeremiah Smith for the Buckeyes and DeCorian Moore. So, again, it's not often that you get 3 guys that could be in the top 3 in their position at quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end. But that's what we have. And then we got Noah Whittington and Lamar, and we got 5 deep at running back. So, I mean, the depth is unreal. Offensive line, much improved. Defense, much improved. And Dan Lanning's leadership gives us that confidence. Handoff up the middle and a short gain there. Nice gang tackle by the Wildcats. UCLA ended up spending too much money on their quarterback transfer, and he's more of a diva that thinks about himself rather than the team. And again, they're going to be the worst team, it looks like, in the Big Ten. And honestly, they shouldn't even have added them on. The only reason they added them on is because they're USC's rival. It would have been better for the Big Ten to add a team like Utah to give us more strength, even though we do feel that the Big Ten is still one of the best conferences in the college football landscape. Crappy coach, too, I agree. 2nd down and 6. Delayed handoff right up the middle. Good vision. There we go. Rumbling and a bumbling. 1st down, Oregon. Move the chains. There we go. I mean, the UCLA team is nowhere near where they were when they had Chip Kelly and when Dante Moore was a freshman. So, and then Moore had to sit behind Dylan Gabriel, and now, after being patient and not transferring and being the guy, has made a big difference with this team, moving forward, because it's not like Novosad or Achilles Smith Jr. or any of the other guys are good enough to be the quarterback this year. Floater by Dante Moore, and incomplete. Any flags on the play? It doesn't look like it. And intended receiver was Benson. Yeah, and again, we're not going to be scoring, 50, 60, 70 on the road, regardless if it's a ranked opponent or an unranked opponent. At the end of the day, we just have to be able to win the game. And again, we will make the proper adjustments in the second half. Yeah, but you have to understand this is the first game on the road, and, you have to, settle in. It's not easy playing on the road, no matter where you're at. Decorian Moore, first down, Oregon. I mean, even though we're a top 4 team, you can't expect us to score 50, 60, 70 every week. I mean, there's going to be wins where we, score in the 20s or the 30s or low 40s. So, but at the end of the day, as long as you're winning, that's all that matters. And again, we still potentially could lose to Penn State and the Huskies on the road this year, to go 10-2. And if we do, we're still going to be in the college football playoff, and that actually might be better for us. That way that you're playing every week, screen pass. And you also have to look at this team compared to last year. There's a lot of shakeup, on the roster. Not a lot of the players that were on this team last year are on the team now. So, there are still some, familiar faces, but there's a lot of new faces, here as well. Especially with transfers like Bear Alexander from USC, and again, some guys that have moved on to the NFL like Dylan Gabriel. But, again, we like where we're going at this point. Second down and 11. Trips right. Shotgun set here for Dante Moore. Man in motion. And Lamar up the middle. And a nice tackle there by the Wildcats. Short game. Fitzgerald with the great tackle there. All right, big third down right here. Third down and 7. See if we can go to Dak, or if we end up going to Sadiq. We got to be able to find somebody to get open here. Audible at the line. Third down and 7. Shotgun set. Moore. I'm watching it live here, so. And towards the sideline. And out of bounds. Decorian Moore, the intended receiver. I mean, if you're watching it through an app through like Fox, it's going to be a little bit behind, because I ended up, trying to transfer it to my TV, through Fox, the Fox Sports app and Fox One app. And when you do that, it ends up being a little bit slower. So if you end up watching it, from your phone or from the actual, cable box, that's where you're going to get the most live stream. That's what I've noticed. So 4th down and 7, Atticus Sappington going for a field goal here. Judah in the building, what's good? But I always try to look multiple ways. Kick is up, and it is good. 10-0 Oregon. Here we go. But again, when you're watching the streams, it's like, when I do the Mariners, you get a better look at what's going on through the cable box or through the phone app. If you go through your TV apps, sometimes it's like going through a streaming app on your computer. Sometimes there's going to be a delay of like 10 to 30 seconds. So whenever I do streams, I try to be able to get the fastest available option. And it doesn't really make any sense that if you watch it on your phone, that it's going to be like watching it live. And then if you watch it through your phone and then you transfer it to your TV, that it's going to be like 10 seconds slower. It doesn't really make any sense. You think it would be lined up exactly, but, it is what it is. And I'm always like, checking, every option that I have to find the most live option. So that's commercial break right now. And then also I have like the ESPN stat page up as well. So on the ESPN stat page, it shows 9:28 in the second quarter, but that doesn't always line up to the actual live broadcast. So you're on cable? Yeah. Do you have the Fox Sports app? If you have the Fox Sports app and then you link it to your cable, then you may be able to, be faster. just to give you a heads up. I know it's not ideal, maybe watching it on your cell phone compared to a big TV, or if you're on your cable box. Who's your provider? Where do you live? Because again, I live in Oregon, so, we have Xfinity here, but through the, and then obviously I link it through the email, through my cable provider, and I use the apps. And then, I've noticed that it's a little bit faster, when you go that route, but, you're free to do whatever you would like, but I'm just giving you a heads up. So. Yeah, no worries, man. And again, depending on where you live and depending on your, connection, through the internet, and also depending on what provider you have, it's going to vary. Some people are going to be a little bit faster. Some people are going to be a little bit behind for whatever reason because of the network and the way that they broadcast it. So it's like sometimes, like right now where I'm watching the game, I would rather watch the game on the TV, but right now I'm watching it like two different ways. I got it, on the TV, but I'm actually watching it on the phone with like a phone holder while I'm watching and calling the game because it's going to be faster. If I end up calling the game from the TV that's linked through the app, it's going to be like 10 or 15 seconds slower. So I want to try to be as live as available. So you got Xfinity as well. Oh, you're not too far from me. All right, 9:28 left. Oregon 10, Northwestern 0 as they're panning to the Northwestern bench, and now the kicker. And hopefully we'll be able to get a quick turnover here, and then we'll be able to go up 17-0, and hopefully we'll be around the 20 range before we get to halftime. And here we go. Beautiful scenery with the water in the background. It's one of the only locations in college football where you're going to see, river, lake, ocean in the background. Anytime you can get that water vibes, it's pretty cool. 9 for 12, 49 yards by Dante Moore. Betcher with a big pick that led to a score. And defense has given up 39 yards, even though they had to go on a 3-and-out early. Again, Oregon looking good. Could be a little bit higher of a score, but you have to remember on the road is completely different than at home. We have a lot of people booing us, not cheering us. And, it's an adjustment when you go into someone else's house. And I'm looking for the big sack lunch, the big fumble, the big pick six. We had back-to-back pick sixes last week, which I've never seen. And I've been watching Oregon football for like 40 years. First down and 10, shotgun set. Little check down, and nice catch there. Hyman out of the backfield, gain of about 8 or 9. Big 7-yard gain. Next up, Oregon State and Texas Tech. That should be an easy win for Texas Tech. Yeah, Dante Moore transferred from UCLA when he was with Chip Kelly as a transfer. He was on our bench last year behind Dylan Gabriel, just learning the system, and then now he's the starter. So he's already been on the team for a while, but he had to wait, his turn, and then now, he'll end up being a first-round pick next year. And he's a hell of a lot better than Dylan Gabriel, in my opinion. False start there by the Wildcats. We'll take that. And I love me some Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. They are the best announcers in sports, in my opinion. Right there with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the NFL side. And honestly, if they had Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt replace, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, I think Fox ratings would be better. Very talented duo. My favorite. I mean, sometimes I wake up at 9 a.m. just to watch, them call a game. That's how good they are. Gus Johnson is like one of my idols. Second down and long, handoff up the middle. Nice run there by the Wildcats. First down, Northwestern. Hyman with a nice game. Come on, Tosh Lapoy. Come on, guys. Yeah, it's early, 9 a.m. start. It's unusual for Duck fans to have a game at 9 a.m., but since we've transferred for the Big Ten, this is going to be a reality for us. Play action fake, little bootleg, roll to the right. He's got an open man, and big hit there. First down, Wildcats. That was a beautiful play by Northwestern there by Preston Stone. You know, I feel with Gus, you might think that, but he has mad respect for Oregon, and again, he's a very intelligent guy, a lot of passion. I love him. He's my favorite. Fumble! Grab it, baby! And a big loss there by Preston Stone. There we go. Big loss of 18 yards. I mean, everyone can nitpick and be critical, but at the end of the day, Oregon is still going to be one of the best teams in college football. They are going to be a natty contender with the Buckeyes, and obviously you have a few other teams that are going to be in that mix, Georgia and LSU and Texas and a few others, but everyone can nitpick all they want, but at the end of the day, there's not going to be very many teams that are going to be on the Oregon level. And we worked very hard in the last 25 years to get to this point, and we got one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in college football, in Dan Lanning. Great recruiter, but a great motivator and a very intelligent guy. And this team is better than last year's. There's no doubt about that. Little short gain there by the Wildcats. Third down. Hyman with the gain there. 10-0 Oregon. And again, obviously we know the spread is pretty high, 27.5, and there's still a chance that Oregon ends up, getting that. I mean, you got to understand, Northwestern's still at 0. It's not like Northwestern has scored yet. Of course, we would love to be at higher than 10 at this point, but, when you're on the road, sometimes you're going to start a little slow. Third down and 19. Big play here. Shotgun set for Preston Stone. Trips left. Pump fake. Get his ass. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Boom. Oh, baby. Mateo with the sack lunch. And he'll be seeing gameplay on Sundays. You better believe it. Let's go, baby. What a stud. Fourth down and 23 after the sack lunch and that big 18-yard loss by Preston Stone. Oregon threatening to score here shortly. Punt almost blocked. Now let's see if we can get a fair catch here on the return. No, it goes over his head. Wow, great punt by Northwestern. Down to the, 11? And now we got 4:51 to play here in the second quarter to score another touchdown to go up 17-0 at half. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. Gain to sub, 75 subs to go to 21,900. Once we get 175, we'll be at 22,000. Let's go. Yeah, and the thing is, it's Dan Lanning and his preparation. It's like I've been watching for a long time. I watched in the Rich Brooks era. I watched in the Mike Bellotti era, and I saw the difference from Bellotti, from Rich Brooks. And then, going to the Chip Kelly era, which was the best era that we ever had. Then we had a couple, guys that weren't the greatest, and Willie Taggart, who went back home to Florida State, and Cristobal that went back to Miami. And then now we finally got a guy that's on the Chip Kelly level, but I believe that it will be even better than Chip Kelly. And again, if we can have Dan Lanning for the next 5 to 10 years, it's almost inevitable that we are going to be able to go to a natty or two, and we may not win the first time that we get there, but we will end up winning one with him as a head coach. And again, if Georgia ever fires Kirby Smart, who do you think they're going to be looking at? They're going to be looking at Dan Lanning, who was the defensive coordinator with Kirby that ended up winning natties before he came to Oregon. But hopefully Lanning will stay loyal for as long as possible, or at least until we win a natty if he wants to go back home. And I'm hoping that Dan will be here for many, many years. But sometimes you can't trust everything that, a coach or a player says. They say, oh, I'm going to be here for a long time. And then they leave 6 months later. Oh, I'm committed. I'm going to be here for 4 years. And then they don't get enough playing time and they transfer 2 games later. But it feels like Dan is a little bit more honest and to his word. And he knows he's building something special. And obviously now,
we're on the Georgia level, if not higher. So what's the point of leaving, if you've already built a program like this? So definitely is exciting, for us that live here in Oregon and Washington in the Pacific Northwest. And not only are the Ducks good, the Huskies are good. They're not on the Oregon level, but they're their sleeper team of 2025. And I really like what they got cooking over there. And then the Mariners are playing good as well. So between the Ducks and the Mariners and the Huskies, we're not usually this good, with teams in the Pacific Northwest. Obviously the Kraken, the Seahawks, the Blazers, the Cougs, and the Beavers got a long ways to go. But at least there's a few teams that are balling out in Oregon and Washington. I agree. Stein is probably as good as gone. I agree. But the way that we, can get new offensive coordinators, if we lose them, it's not going to be a big deal. We'll be able to find another individual that will be on his level or higher, either on the college football ranks or the NFL ranks. But I would agree with you there. There's a pretty damn good chance, unless he loves this program with Dan Lanning and just decides that he doesn't want any more money and he doesn't want to go anywhere else, then there is a chance that he could stay, but if that's going to be a personal choice up to him, if he wants to be able to help build this dynasty or not. 10-0 Oregon with a great punt by the Wildcats. 4:51 left here in the second quarter. First down and 10 for Dante Moore with trips right. But again, much better team than last year, and I like having a right-handed quarterback rather than a lefty. I mean, if we had Michael Penix Jr., then it was a different story. But having Dylan Gabriel, it was kind of like a poor man's Tim Tebow, but he couldn't run. And it definitely made us flip our plays, going to the left on the bootleg instead of the right. And again, we were a good team last year, and we could have won the Natty or gotten to the Natty, but again, Chip Kelly being offensive coordinator kind of bailed out Ryan Day, and they found a way to get it done. But now Chip has gone to the Raiders. The defensive coordinator left from the Buckeyes to Penn State. They brought in Matt Patricia. So again, Buckeyes are loaded, but so are the Ducks. Second down and 8. Handoff into the backfield, and a great tackle there by the Wildcats. Yeah, I mean, it really started off with Joey Harrington, in the late 90s and the early 2000s. That's where they put us on the map. Obviously in 94, we had the pick six by Kenny Wheaton on the Huskies, and that put us on the map, to start. Ended up losing in the Rose Bowl the first time in 94, but really what gave us the recognition, was in, the late 90s, early 2000s with Joey Harrington, and the last 25 years have been a lot of joy. I got a Joey Harrington sewn jersey in the closet, and, I love Joey. 4. First down, Oregon, move the chains, And again, we've had many guys, from the Joey Harrington era to the Keenan Howerys, the Sammy Parkers, to the Ontario Smiths, to the Maurice Morrises. I've been a fan of this team for a long time. And again, it's really cool to be able to see the progression of where Oregon was and where Oregon is going. Throwing to the sideline. 12-yard gain. 20-12 game. And again, if we can go up 17-0 here at half, I mean, again, would it be better if we could get into the high 20s and be at 28-0? Yeah, that would be great. But again, we're on the road. And again, it's going to be a transitional period once you start getting into Big Ten play, even against a team like Northwestern. Well, you have to also understand, you have to give Northwestern credit, because a lot of the plays that they've been calling would have gotten much bigger gains at home. So again, here being on the road, they're getting a few stops, and they're, certain running plays that normally would get us like 15 yards, are getting us like 4 or like 2. So, you have to give Northwestern a little bit of credit. Defensively, they've, played pretty well. They haven't had a whole lot of missed tackles early. And again, if you're looking at guys like, Noah Whittington, the guy's averaging like 11 yards per carry, but we were at home. And obviously now we have Lamar, taking the lead so far in this game. But, the game could be, much better at this point if they had more missed tackles and whatnot. But again, every game you have to adjust based on what the defense is throwing at you. I mean, it's like we're not down 10-0 right now, Obviously, we would love to be up by more, but, I mean, if we go up 17-0, sometimes I feel like as fans, we get a little too nitpicky, Just because we ended up scoring 50, 60, 70 in the first 2 weeks at home doesn't mean that we're going to do that here on the road. You have to, take that in consideration. At the end of the day, a win is a win. And obviously you want to win, in a certain type of way for, the voters and whatnot. But, again, look at last year's team. We started off really sluggish, at the beginning of the year. And there was a few games where we could have lost, Wisconsin and a few others where, Boise State, we didn't look good, and we almost got upset a couple times. And again, I think that this team is much better than last year. And even though that we started off slow, let's find out and wait to see what the final score, of the game could be. I mean, we might end up winning this game like 25 or 35-7, 35-3. It could end up still being a score of something of that nature. So, yeah, but it's different. Being at home and on the road is different though. Toby in the building. What's good? You're not going to be able to execute the same type of plays, and you also have to realize that the fans, have that energy. And again, when you're at home and you have everyone cheering for you and you're playing on your field, it's a lot different than going on the road. Anyone that's grown up and played sports will realize that. You feel more comfortable at home and you're going to play better at home, right? When you go on the road, regardless on who you're playing, it's a different environment. And, that has to be taken into consideration. It's not like you're just going to throw up 70 no matter where you're at. Even Ohio State, on the road this year, as you pay attention to them as well, they're not going to look the same way at home and on the road. There's going to be a few games where they're going to look like Oregon and some of the other top teams where, the score is going to be a little bit lower. It's not going to be as fluid or smooth or crisp, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. 2:42 left here in the second quarter, 10-0 Oregon. Sometimes I feel as fans, expectations are a little too high, on the road. Let's just wait for things to kind of play out. Let's see if we can get a touchdown here to make it 17-0 Oregon, which there, should be a good possibility of happening. Shotgun set on first down and 10. But again, for me, it's not necessarily Oregon or Stein. I feel you got to give the other team credit. And again, a lot of times it's hard to give the other team credit, but so far they've been pretty crisp on defense, Northwestern. I mean, we haven't been able to take advantage of a lot of missed tackles, that a lot of those two teams were having early in the season with our two games at home. Second down and 9. 2:08 and counting. Now 2:05 and counting. And now we're at the 2-minute warning. 10-0 Oregon, 2-minute warning. And also, too, if you're betting on the game, you can't let your frustrations of, taking a bet and, assuming that Oregon's going to win by 27.5, and then right now they're only up 10-0, you can't be biased on that, regard either. Just because a bet isn't going to cash in doesn't mean that Oregon is bad. So, yeah, I think that we are going to win today, and I think we're going to win tomorrow, Cody. I think we're going to sweep the Angels. We're going to win 9 in a row, and then we just have to go 8-4 the rest of the way. We're going to play the Royals and the Astros on the road, and then the Rockies and Dodgers at home. So if we can do that and go 8-4 after winning today and tomorrow, and winning 9 in a row for the Mariners, and we finish off 8-4 the rest of the way, that'll put us at 90 wins, and that should be enough to overtake the Astros for first place in the AL West. And then the Astros will be the wild card team, and the Mariners will win the division for the first time in a long time, since possibly 2001. So it's been a minute since the Mariners have been this good. So nice to be able to see the Mariners and Ducks holding it down. Let's go, baby. Let's get a touchdown here before half. Yeah, the problem with Texas, though, with Arch Manning is his footwork and his throwing motion is kind of garbage. Obviously playing against a top 3 defense in Ohio State kind of exposed him. Arch will be able to throw for 3, 4, 5 touchdown passes, 200, 300, 400 yards, but he doesn't look like a Heisman first pick in the draft, guy that they were hyping up. And if he was so good last year, why did Quinn Ewers play over him? So he's got the Manning name, but there's quite a few quarterbacks in college football at the moment that look better than Arch. I wish the best for him. He's got Peyton and Eli and Cooper, as family members that will be able to guide him along the way. But, the mechanics of Arch Manning looked very flawed in week 1 and then better against shittier opponents. But, you really want to be able to play against the best type of defenses to see how good you're going to be, not only on the college level, but at the NFL level. So. Yeah, it's a 10-0 Oregon. Northwestern's defense has been pretty good. And again, we're potentially hoping to get another touchdown here before half to make it 17-0. So, yeah, if you have the Fox Sports app, if you link it to your cable, that's going to be the best way to watch the game if you're driving. Two minutes to go. 10-0 Oregon. Betcher with a pick to put us in good position. And again, anytime you're on the road, it's going to be a little sluggish, and we're starting Big Ten play. But I do think, obviously, Oregon is going to win the game. And really the only two games that I feel that Oregon is going to be super threatened will be Penn State on the road, which we play in 2 weeks after we beat Oregon State next week. We could lose that. And then possibly the Huskies on the last game of the season in Seattle. But for the rest of the games, I feel that we should be in control as long as we don't have any injuries. Moore, plenty of time in the backfield. Get rid of it. And Northwestern chasing him towards the sideline in a gain of about 4 or 5. And it looks like there was a hold on the Oregon line that wasn't called. Yeah, and again, Oregon was supposed to, the spread was 27.5, and a lot of people are freaking out right now because Oregon's only up by 10. But it's still possible that we win 35-3, and then you still cash in on the spread. So, or 35-7 and, something of that nature. So. Trips left, 3rd down and 8. Shotgun set for Dante Moore. Moore steps up in the pocket. Looking. First down, Oregon. Malik Benson with a great catch there. And also you have to realize a lot of these players on the team, didn't play a whole lot last year or weren't even on the team. So this is kind of new for all of us fans, and obviously for Dan Lanning as a coach. We're kind of just learning as we go, early in the college football season. Northwestern with a timeout. First down and 10 with 1:36 left in the second quarter, 10-0 Oregon. And hopefully Oregon will be able to get a touchdown here, and it kind of feels like there will be a good chance of that happening. And then we'll be doing the Mariners and the Angels later tonight at 6:40 Pacific. And then on Sunday, we're going to double dip and do 2 streams back to back. Mariners and Angels at 1. And then we're going to do Sunday Night Football with the Falcons and the Vikings with a rematch of the Natty of the Huskies and Michigan Wolverines with J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr. So it's going to be a long weekend. I'll be watching a lot of college football and a lot of MLB and a lot of NFL here this weekend. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to win on the road. I mean, wishful thinking, Cody, but realistically, you guys might be going 0-2. Not that I think that the Steelers are a great team. I mean, I don't think anyone anticipated Aaron Rodgers going 4 touchdowns, no picks in week 1 and looking like the Green Bay Packer, quarterback in his prime. But, we'll see. Might be a long year for Hawk fans. Handoff up the middle. And Lamar with a short gain. Seven-yard gain from Lamar. Clock is ticking. Less than 1:20 to go. Second down and 3. Shotgun set. Play action fake. No, handoff up the middle, and a good tackle there by the Wildcats. Third down and 2. Shotgun set for Dante Moore. Pressure coming up the middle. Decides to take off and run. First down, Oregon. Move the chains. And helmet flies off of Dante Moore. Man, it took a big pop. Now Luke Maga is going to have to come in for at least a snap. Oh, wow. Landed right on his head, too. Jesus. All right, commercial break, 37 seconds left, and then Maga will have to come in for at least a snap. And then at that point, they'll have Dante Moore come back in, and I assume that we'll end up getting the touchdown with just a few seconds to go before half and be up 17-0. So. Let's go, baby. Okay, they called the timeout so that Maga wouldn't have to come in. Good decision there by Dan Lanning. First down and 10. And the reason that we're running so much is we like to have balance, with the run game and the passing game. We're not going to just be one-dimensional and just run the ball or just pass the ball. First down and 10. Shotgun set. Dante Moore going deep. Touchdown, Oregon. Boom. Sadiq, the best tight end in the land. Kenyon Sadiq, touchdown, Oregon. Let's go. And just like that, you call the timeout. You don't bring in the backup quarterback. One-on-one coverage. Linebacker had no choice to get burned by Kenyon Sadiq. And that is a tutty. Woo, what a route by Sadiq. And you're going to see Dante Moore and Sadiq on Sundays, baby. Great job, Oregon. Let's go, baby. And again, a little bit of a slow start, but again, we still have a good chance to get to 30 or 40 before this game is up. And remember, it's not like Northwestern is even on the board yet. They're at 0. So again, even though we want to see a bigger scores, you got to be patient. Extra point is up and good. 17-0 Ducks. Let's go, baby. Yes, I will be watching the Huskies play the Cougs. Huskies will win that. Huskies are a really good team this year that no one's really talking about, except for really me, I feel. I liked them even before the season started. I saw what they started to build, and, Damon Williams is like Kyler Murray. Jonah Coleman is one of the best running backs in the game, if not the best. Very, very solid. Offensive line has got 2 or 3 studs up front. You got David Boston's son, who also is a wide receiver, Denzel. You got some good defensive players. Huskies are really solid. And again, it wouldn't shock me if Oregon ends up losing to them in Seattle in the last game of the regular season. And if they lose to Penn State on the road, those will be the 2 games that Oregon will have the best chance to lose. And even if they lose those 2 games, they're still going to make a deep run, especially the way the college football playoff is set up. If you go undefeated, you have a month off and you're penalized. If you lose a game or 2, you continuously play like the Buckeyes did, and you can go all the way. So I would rather lose a couple games in the regular season, play every week in the playoff, and then win the Natty, rather than going 12-0 and beating Penn State and the Huskies and everyone else, having a month off, and then losing to the Buckeyes like we did last year. I don't want that to happen. So I want to make sure that we're having that chemistry and continuity week in and week out, and without a month off, that can destroy a team. And if you notice last year in the college football playoff, every team that had a bye lost, not just Oregon. So that system is flawed by the college football playoff committee, and they need to change it. Great route there by Kenyon Sadiq. Great hands, baby. 17-0 with 31 seconds left, baby. And no one can guard Sadiq one-on-one. I mean, there's a few linebackers in the land, and it looks like the Northwestern Wildcats aren't even going to try to get a play off. They just kneeled it down. So just like that, 17-0 at half. And again, we've been up by more, obviously to start off the first 2 games at home, but we're on the road. Bottom line, they've been tackling well, and they're at 0. So again, yeah, would it be better if we were up 28-0, 35-0? Yeah, but again, we're not at home at Autzen. We're on the road, and again, 17-0 is pretty solid. And again, we're going to be able to double that score and get to the 30s or 40s before this game is up, and we've won 26 straight games when leading by 17 or more at half. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we're going to win the game, 42-0, or something of that nature. But if we end up winning, 35-0, 42-0, a lot of those people that were complaining, early, in this game may not be complaining in the second half. So. All right, it's halftime. I'm going to go check up on my pup since we have a couple minutes before they get into the halftime report. So let me go check up on my pup here real quick, and I'll be back in a minute or two. Right, I'm back. Looks like the pup is doing good, chilling and relaxing on the couch, waiting for Dad to be done with stream number 1. And we have a nice 17-0 lead here early for the Oregon Ducks. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes before the stream ends. 100 on the dono train, and we're looking for 5 to 15 subs. We're at 21,825 last time I checked, and hopefully we'll be able to gain a few here today. And obviously, if the game was on later, we'd get more views. I mean, it's not ideal to have a game start off at 9 a.m., but that's the schedule makers, and we have to live with it. Shout out to the 2-3 new subs that we've gained. Now we only need 74 to go to hit 21,900, and we're on a commercial break as they go over a little bit of a breakdown here. Dante Moore, 125 yards passing to Preston Stone's 21 for the Wildcats. He's 4 for 7 with the pick, right? Lamar with 33 rushing yards, and DeCorian Moore, 4 receptions for 49 yards, and a nice pick by Beta. And again, it could be, a little bit higher scoring, but again, you just have to be patient for the second half. But offense is improved, defense is improved, and there are going to be a few games that are a little bit closer than comfort early on. But again, at home, we're going to be able to throw up 40, 50, 60, 70, almost on the regular. And on the road, it's going to be a little lower, 20, 30, 40, but again, that's kind of, natural in the college football scene, but there will be games where we might be able to score 40, 50, on the road, but it might depend on the opponent. And if we end up having magical plays like back-to-back pick sixes, like we had last week. So. Georgia Tech right now upsetting Clemson 13-7. That's a little shocking. Oklahoma up 25-3 on Temple. And then Alabama obviously recovering from obviously a sluggish start to the year, up 21-0 on Wisconsin. Michigan up big on CMU, 35-3. So a lot of lopsided matchups here early. Auburn up early, 14-3. Mizzou up 14-0. And then obviously we got Penn State coming up. I'm going to be watching Georgia and Tennessee. That will be interesting. Georgia obviously ranked there in the top 6 with Tennessee ranked 15th. That'll be interesting. Nice ranked matchup. USF and Miami both ranked will be good. And then also watching later in the evening A&M and Notre Dame. So those will be the 3 ranked matchups that I'll be watching later today. And then we'll be doing the Mariners at 6:40 Pacific versus the Angels for game number 3.
we're not going to have too much time with halftime, just a few minutes, and we'll get right back into the action. And hopefully Oregon doesn't have too many games this early. It's not ideal to play at 9 a.m., but I'm happy to have Gus and Joel call at least one game this year. Hopefully they'll have a few more at some point or another. And then we got the Beavers next week, which would be able to handle them very easily. They don't look very good this year, and we're at home. That one could get really, really ugly. And normally it's a civil war, so to speak, but them and the Cougs are still in the Pac-12. The Beavers are 0-2, and I assume we'll win that one by 20, 30, 40, 50 points. And then obviously the next week after that will be the game where we may lose. Going on the road to Penn State, that one is going to be must-see TV, one of the best matchups of the year. And if we can come out with a win with that one, then potentially we'll go undefeated or maybe only lose against the Huskies at the end of the year. So definitely looking forward to that matchup to see how good we can play in a harsh environment, the harshest environment that we're going to see besides going to the college football playoff. But the spread is 27.5 if you bet on this game, and we're up by 17. So obviously when it was early on at 10-0, people were getting a little worried, but it's still possible that you can hit your bets, because we're definitely going to score more than 17 in the second half, you would assume. Oregon State about to go to 0-3 today, and if they drop a game to us, 0-4. It's going to be one of the worst seasons Oregon State has had in years. Betcher with that beautiful pick and breaking 8 tackles after. 17-0 Oregon. Beautiful. Dante Moore, special player, and he'll definitely be in the Heisman, consideration at the end of the year. Going to be a first-round pick in the draft, and again, much better player than Dylan Gabriel, more similar to Bo Nix and type of style of play, and definitely excited to see where this team goes. Honestly, I wish Ohio State was on the schedule this year, but as long as we do our job, we'll more than likely have a chance to face them at some point in the college football playoff or the Natty. (13 for 16, 125 yards, a TD, and 5 rushing yards. Beautiful by Dante Moore. And I really think the only reason that we didn't get into the 20s, obviously in the first half, is you got to give Northwestern a little credit. They played some pretty good defense, compared to the first 2 opponents that we faced at home. They didn't really have too many missed tackles. They had a couple tackles that were right there at the line of scrimmage. And again, for some of our guys, like Noah Whittington averaging 11 yards per carry, and you got guys obviously like Lamar that are stepping in here today. Sometimes you got to give the other team a little credit instead of just like, oh, Oregon's playing bad or they're not playing well. Sometimes you got to be like, well, Northwestern's at a 0, but their defense has definitely been a little bit better than expected early in the first 2 quarters.
on. So if you're Northwestern right now, stay the course defensively, but offensively, you got to eliminate some assists. And at some point, you got to take some shots downfield. They have nothing but that. I love that you said throw the ball into the TV. They're running the football effectively. It sounds like a bit skewed because the fact that some of the sacks, some of the negative plays from Preston Stone, it doesn't look quite as bad if you're just talking about the actual run. Some push. The touchdown for the Wildcats certainly changes the pace of things in the second half. The team Alabama responded to the week one upset by taking care of Louisiana Monroe, 73-0 for Martin. A Big Ten Texas.
Yeah, I got to wait till next week.
Wisconsin came to town. Mark has been shot.
Oh, Bama towards that sideline. And it definitely shows you how Bama has, fallen off with no Nick Saban. You got to be able to have a good coach. And, this time and day and age in college football, you don't have a good coach, you're not going to be able to compete with the big boys. Got to have a good coach, a good recruiter. And you also have to have a guy that's, going to be able to, keep that team on that same level. And realistically, you're not going to have another Nick Saban probably ever again there. So Oklahoma and Temple, that should be easy for them. A lot of lopsided matchups, but we're going to have at least 3 solid ranked matchups here later today that I'm looking forward to. Georgia and Tennessee should be must-see TV. Miami and Florida, USF and Miami should be good. And then obviously that last matchup with Notre Dame and A&M. And USF legitimately has a chance against Miami. They played well this year. And we should be getting back to the action here in just a minute or two. Missouri up 14-0 against Louisiana. Clemson and Georgia Tech. Oh, big hit. Yeah, I think Klubnik and Arch Manning, kind of got too much pub in the preseason and whatnot. So sometimes, the quote-unquote experts, they get it right, but sometimes they don't. Now they're up 13-7 on Clemson. Clemson's a little overrated. Michigan versus Central Michigan. Ooh, Underwood with the touchdown. 35-3 Wolverines. Nebraska. Ooh. Raiola, the Patrick Mahomes clone. 38-0 against Houston Christian. Why the hell do you have them on the schedule? It always, whenever you see a name like that, come on. Maryland versus Towson. Whenever you end up getting a name of a college and you have no idea where it is, then they probably shouldn't be on the schedule. Oh, that'll be a good one. Texas Tech versus Utah, huh? Bama leads Wisconsin 21-0, and hopefully we'll get to the second half here shortly. I don't think college football needs really this much time, for halftime, but
Ryan Williams is a stud. He may not be Jeremiah Smith, but, pretty damn good player. We're on Monday Night Football. I'll be doing the stream. We're on the road against the Texans, so I assume we're going to be 2-0 after that game, and we'll be live streaming that. So it's a doubleheader on Monday. There's a game at 4 Pacific and a game at 7. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing the Bucks. I'm not going to be able to do the Bucks all the time. It's not like they're going to be on Monday night, Sunday night, or Thursday night often, but Michigan leads Central Michigan 35-3. And again, this halftime period is a little bit longer than it needs to be, obviously, for the college football ranks. But again, it will give us a time to kind of reflect on the first half. And then obviously, as we get into the second half, I assume Oregon will continue to pull away. And then I'll get a few hours to take a break, take Paisley on a walk, and get situated and settled. I've already made the thumbnails for both Mariner games and for Sunday Night Football already. I had to make sure I did that in advance, and we'll be doing 2 streams a day, 2 streams tomorrow, and looking forward to doing the Mariners today and tomorrow, as well as the Falcons and the Vikings for Sunday Night Football. But I'm looking forward to watching Baker Mayfield do the Baker Mayfield thing. Emeka Egbuka should win Rookie of the Year. Mike Evans obviously is Mike Evans, and pretty soon we'll get Godwin and Wirfs back. Antoine Winfield Jr. is one of the best safeties in the game, and again, right now it kind of feels like the Packers, the Eagles, and the Bucks might be the 3 best teams in the NFC. And obviously on the AFC side, you got the Bills and the Ravens. Obviously, we'll see where that kind of goes, and it's definitely going to be up for grabs in the AFC and the NFC, but there's definitely a few teams that have kind of separated themselves early, in the season. But again, it's still early. Still got a long ways to go. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But Packers look good. Eagles look good. There's a good chance the Eagles go 2-0 and they beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs drop to 0-2. And again, I'm assuming that the Bucks will go 2-0 against the Texans, even though they're going to be on the road. But this might be the first year that we don't see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And again, if you're a Ravens fan, a Bills fan, a Bronco fan, or any fan that's not a Chief fan, obviously you're looking forward to the opportunity of, maybe being in the Super Bowl. All right, second half just around the corner here.
life without opposable thumbs. Bummer, hands are the best. Little Caesars is the real deal. Pizza, pizza.
All right, looks like we're going to be right here in the second half here momentarily. Solomon in the building. What's good? Everbright in the building. What's good? 17-0 Oregon. Dante Moore looking like a first-round draft pick. No doubt about that. DeCorian Moore, great. Sadiq, one of the best tight ends in the game. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt on the mic. And again, we should be able to extend our lead. You know, not every game is going to be 50, 60, 70, 80 points by Oregon, especially when you're on the road for the first time, you know, on the Big Ten. But you assume that we'll get to at least 35 points or more. And again, Northwestern's at 0. So again, if we win 35-0, yeah, it would be nicer to win, 70-3 or 70-10 and whatnot, put up a big number. But again, holding a team to 0 in college football is not easy, regardless if it's in the first half or a game. And I assume Northwestern, at some point might be able to get to 3 or 7 or 10. Maybe the max that they could get to is 13, but hopefully we'll be able to keep them under 10 points. And hopefully we get to 35 to the mid 40s, and we'll see what the defense can do here. But you got to give Northwestern credit. Their defense was pretty good. We played a little bit more conservative. Their tackling was, pretty well done so far in the early first half. And now it's time for us to make the adjustments. Will Stein's going to open up the playbook. Dan Lanning's got this team motivated. And again, we're going to try to get to 35 and up, and preferably if we can get to the 40s, that's what maybe most fans would want. But if we win 35 or 38-0 or 38-3, there's nothing wrong with a win like that, especially if it's on the road, for the first time in the Big Ten. Let's go, baby. All right, Wildcats are going to get the ball first here in the second half. Yeah. And again, if we were able to stop the run, probably we would be at 24-0 or 20-0. So, got to make these adjustments. And here we go. And that one is a touchback. And again, we've done a great job. Preston Stone, 4 for 7, 21 yards and a pick. That's pretty damn good stats if you ask me for the defense. Running game has been the strong suit for Northwestern, but at the end of the day, they're at 0. So let's keep them there. And we're still looking for that pick 6, that fumble for a touchdown. We already got a pick by Betcha, and he broke 8 tackles after that, and we ended up turning that into a score. And hopefully we'll be able to get a few more tutties here under the belt. First down and 10 here in the second half. Shotgun set for Preston Stone, man in motion. Handoff up the middle. And good defense there by Oregon. A short gain of 1 or 2. Jackson with the tackle. Second down and 8 for Preston Stone and the Northwestern Wildcats. 17-0 Oregon here in the second half. Shotgun set for Stone. Handoff up the middle again, and another good tackle there by Oregon. Giving up a yard or 2 is much better than giving up 4 to 7 yards, which, on a few carries that we were giving up early is the reason why we only got to 17. So let's see if we can get them to punt here on the first drive like they did to us on our first drive in the game in the first half. Third down and 5. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the M's as well.
Love the Ducks, love the Bucks, love the Mariners, and can't wait to see what we get here this weekend. Hopefully we can go 3-0. And looking forward to that Husky-Coug matchup in the Apple Cup next week. Stone, underneath, tackle him. And first down, Wildcats. Wilde with the catch. And again, he didn't get targeted enough in the first half. And that's going to be their number one target for Preston Stone if they want to kind of keep this game somewhat manageable. A nice catch there by Wilde. First down and 10 for the Wildcats. 13 minutes and counting. 17-0 Oregon. Come on, Ducks. Defense wins games. Defense wins championships. Play action fake. Tipped. Intercepted. Oh! And it was a hot potato. I thought Betcher was going to get another pick there. And that one got tipped twice in the air, and 4 Ducks couldn't come down with it. But as soon as it goes in the air, we collapse with our defense, and on almost an interception for Oregon there early in the second half. Just out of reach for Betcher. What an athlete. We haven't had a linebacker athlete like Betcher in a while. Second down and 10 for the Ducks. Let's go Oregon. Shotgun set for Preston Stone. Hands it off. And short gain. Little sweep towards the left side. 5-yard gain. Aaron Flowers with the tackle for the Ducks. Third down and 5. We need to stop here. Come on, baby. Let's go. Tosh Lapoi's got to get this team going for that defensive side of the ball. Stop the run. Third down and 5. Let's go Ducks. Shotgun set for Preston Stone, who's been stonewalled so far. Shotgun set. Pressure. Blitz coming on the edge. Throw to the sideline and caught. Wilde again talking a little smack to the Oregon corner. First down, Wildcats. And that's the best player there, Wilde. He's getting the job done. Got to be better. Come on, Oregon. Good throw by Stone and good route there by Wilde. What you cooking on the grill today? You doing hamburgers? What you doing? Steaks? Ribeye? Oh, nice little play action. And another catch there by the Wildcats. Hunter Welsing with the catch. 7-yard gain. Great play action fake by Preston Stone. Looking a hell of a lot better than he did in the first half. But that's partly due to the Ducks defense. Even though they were able to run somewhat effectively on Oregon early, they're still at 0, and hopefully we can keep them there. Second down and 3, and the Wildcats are moving the football here effectively in the second half. Handoff up the middle, and that's first down, Wildcats. Come on, Oregon. Burger, flank steaks, and grilled chicken. Man, that sounds delicious. Save me one or two. I mean, I've definitely changed my diet quite a bit, and whatnot, trying to cut back on, soda and, and other things. I don't eat fast food anymore, and I haven't for quite some time, but man, that definitely sounds amazing. First down and 10, man in motion, shotgun set for Preston Stone, and a handoff, bouncing it to the outside. Nice block there. And a broken tackle, and then you got 5 gang tackle Ducks on him at the sideline, but not after a nice solid gain there, almost to the first down marker. Oh, lobster tails. You're getting fancy. Pinky's up. I'm in there, man. Kumalafe and Hyman working as a good tandem there. And let's see if Oregon can step it up here. Second down and 3 at the 28 of Oregon. Handoff. Hyman bouncing it to the outside. And we need to rip that football out. I mean, again, it's one thing when you're going to be hitting them with the gang tackle, but let's punch that football out. If they're going to be effective on the ground, you have to be able to do something. Punch that football out. Rip it out. Come on, Tosh Lapoy. Third down and 1. 17-0 Oregon with less than 9 minutes to go here in the third quarter. Third down and 1. Shotgun set. Play action fake. Get him! Get him! Yes! It's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. There we go, Oregon. And again, I feel like we need to be starting to send more blitzes, not just on third down. And if we were able to do that, maybe we wouldn't be giving up so many plays, in the running game and obviously in the play action game. Tuioti and company, baby. Bear Alexander, the USC transfer as well. Beautiful. And again, it looked like that they were on potentially the threat to score. And now it's 4th down and 9, and they're going for it. Get the big stop here, Oregon. 4th down and 9. Get to the quarterback. Shotgun set. Pressure on the edge. Get him. Tipped and dropped. Yes. And there we go. Time for Oregon to score now quickly and make it 24-0. There we go. And again, for a little bit there, the defense was giving up some pretty good chunk plays in the running game and the play action game. Wildy was getting some catches from Stone. Running game has been pretty solid. But again, it's all about, finding those blitzes on 1st and 3rd down to stop Uncle Mo and the momentum and getting to the quarterback and getting them on the ground. And then obviously going for it on 4th and 9. They got nothing to lose. They're at 0. And again, receiver ended up dropping that ball. Now it's time to capitalize and, even going deep, on the first play of the game, to Sadiq or a DeCorian Moore for a touchdown could be possible. So let's go. They're going to win today and tomorrow, Mike. We're going to sweep the Angels. We're going to go 9 in a row, and then all we got to do is go 8-4 the rest of the way, right? And again, we're going to have the Royals on the road, which will be tough. Astros on the road. We play them well. We might end up losing a game, each in that series, but that's okay. And then we got the Rockies at home. We'll sweep them. And then the Dodgers, we may end up losing a game to them. So, whether we lose 2 games to the Astros or 2 games to the Dodgers really aren't as strong as they were, in the beginning of the year. So again, if we go 8-4, the rest of the way, we'll hit 90 wins if we win today and tomorrow. And that'll put us at 90 wins. And that should give us first place in the AL West over the Rangers and Astros. So that would mean that we would have gone 15-4 to end the year. And we're going to be the hottest team in baseball at that point. And again, if we can do that and be at 90 wins, we're going to be as good as anybody, Tigers, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Yankees, Astros, Rangers, why not the Mariners, right? And again, obviously you got the Phillies, you got the Brewers, the Cubs, the Padres, and Dodgers, and they're solid teams, but nobody's as hot as Seattle right now. And, we got to keep that momentum going. 17-0 here, Oregon, and let's see if we can get a big play by Dante Moore here on the first or second play. Obviously, they're going to bleed the clock and, run the football and whatnot and, try to get the running game going. But again, we also want to make sure that we're getting some explosive touchdowns as well, and we definitely have the weaponry to do it. Looking forward to that Chiefs-Eagles game tomorrow. That'll be the game of the week. And then if the Eagles win on the road, Chiefs go to 0-2. That'll be the first time that we've seen that in the Mahomes era. I mean, I need to be able to go 3-0 this weekend. Ducks, Mariners, and Buccaneers on Monday night. Hand off, bouncing it to the outside. Go, baby, go! Down the sideline, the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Touchdown, Oregon! Boom! First play of the game. And that's the touchdown that everyone wanted in the first half. You just had to wait to the second half to get it. And everyone thought, hey, it could be a pass. They decided to get the great blocking down the road, down that sideline, and he was gone. Beautiful. Look at this replay again, and look at the blocking by the O-line. Oh, my. Bouncing it to the outside. Look at the blocking downfield. Bang! Helmet on a helmet. And look at the speed. You're gone, baby. Unbelievable. 23-0, just like that. 66-yard game down the sideline for a tutty. Is that good? Oh, yeah, it is. Atticus Sappington here. He did the DeAnthony Thomas. Extra point is up and good. 24-0 Oregon, and that's what most fans wanted in the first half, right? But you just had to wait a couple minutes into the second half. And it shows you how deep we are at running back. We're 5 deep at running back. That was his first carry. That wasn't even the starter. And now Northwestern fans are probably ashamed of themselves saying overrated to Oregon in the pre-show. But whatever gets you hyped up for the game, so be it. Let's go, baby. Let's fucking go. That's the explosive play that we were waiting for. I mean, we got the big touchdown to Sadiq, and obviously we're still waiting for the, Dante Moore, DeCorian Moore 50-yard bomb or something of that nature, or he takes a screen pass for, 40 for the house. But, the running game is so explosive. And again, we have so many guys from, Whittington, to Hill, who just ended up having that big carry, Lamar. And again, a lot of these guys, are kind of new to the team other than Noah Whittington, who had the injury last year. But that's a pretty good carry for Hill, right? First carry of the game, and he ends up going 66 yards down the sideline. But again, if the offensive line and the receivers and tight ends don't do their job to get a hat on the sideline, that's only going to be a gain of maybe 20. And he turned that into 66 yards for Tutty. 24-0, go Ducks. Hell yeah. And again, now we're at 24. And again, a lot of the people that were worried about the spread, 27.5. Now it's looking pretty good. Now when it was 10-0 early, people were like, uh-oh. But now it's like, okay, we're up 24-0. Hell, we might even keep this team at 0 for the whole game. They might score 3, they might get 7, they might get 10. But if we keep up like this, I mean, it is possible that we could win, 38-0, right? 45-0, 45-3. We're not done. We're going to score a couple more times before this one is up. Fucking A, man. Let's go, baby. Go Ducks. And that's how we're just as explosive as like the Buckeyes and a few of the other teams like LSU, at the top of the board in the rankings. In a split second, you never know when that big play can happen. And again, we have the athletes to score in one play, just as much as Ohio State does. And, Ohio State's got 90 5-star, 4-star, and 3-star recruits, which is the most in college football. And even though Oregon may not be at that number, Texas is at like the 70 range, but, we know that we can keep up with anybody, even the Buckeyes. Nice job, Ducks. 24-0, Oregon. Hell yeah. .7:44 left here in the third quarter. Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt on the mic. 24-0, Oregon. Beautiful. De'Aaron Hill Jr., 66-yard touchdown, longest by an Oregon player since 2022, and that was Bucky Irving from North Carolina versus North Carolina. And I like, and when he was running, he did ended up doing when they end up doing the 100-meter dash and whatnot, and you got to kind of tuck your head to, DeAnthony was kind of known for that. I got the DeAnthony jersey on right now, the Black Mamba, and great job there by Oregon. Now let's see if the defense can do their job, and let's see if we can end up getting a pick, a fumble, or possibly a pick 6 that we ended up having 2 last week. And Betcher is a two-way athlete, as we're seeing here, playing baseball and football, and luckily decided to focus more a little bit on the football side. And again, one of the best linebackers in college football. .58-0. Handoff. And a nice gang tackle by Oregon, and they look much better here in the second half with the running game. Instead of giving up chunk yardage of 4 to 7 per carry, now it's like 1 to 3, and that's exactly where you want to be. And then it ends up being 3rd and 5, and it's a little bit more manageable rather than 3rd and 1, and then giving up first down after first down. So. It's going to be a hard one, though, on the road in Pittsburgh. I don't think that Rodgers is going to go for 4 touchdowns and no picks again, but again, that's going to be a really tough one. 2nd down and 9. Preston Stone going deep. Got a man, and he caught it. 1st down, Wildcats. Biggest play of the day for Preston Stone. Big time catch there by Wilde. And he's the best receiver and best player on the offense there. And he comes up big as Oregon ends up playing a soft zone and ends up rifling it right there with a nice post route. Now a little bootleg here for Preston Stone. Blocker there and a nice gain of about 7 yards. Now Northwestern getting a little bit of momentum for their offense, down 24-0. Well, I mean, they won their first game. I wouldn't say they're not that good. I mean, when's the last time Aaron Rodgers got 4 touchdowns, no picks? Maybe when he was in his prime in Green Bay. So I wouldn't say that. Pittsburgh could be a playoff team this year. We don't know yet. And again, you guys dropped a game to the Niners. You're 0-1. So at this point, they're better than you. So again, and you're on the road. You're not at home. So again, it's not going to be an easy, walk in the park. Reality kicks in. You guys could end up being 0-2. When the weekend is over. I mean, it's not like the Steelers are 0-1 right now. If you guys were both 0-1, then it would be kind of like, okay, let's see what happens. But 1st down and 10, Preston Stone, screen pass, and that goes into the turf and complete. Ui Gangalale in the backfield. 2nd down and 10. For the Northwestern Wildcats. You can't be biased. You got to be able to give credit where credit is due, even if it's the opposing team. You can be a fan of a team, but just shitting on the other team and acting like they're not anything, that's going to be a long, long year, especially if the team has injuries or they don't play well. So, it's always good to not be biased, give credit where credit is due, and greatness is everywhere. Sometimes it's on the opposing team, and just see where the chips fall. 2nd down and 10. Intercepted. Go, baby, go. Go, baby, go. There we go, baby. Go down the sideline. Pick 6. Go, go. And he falls down, and we're about to score again. Here we go. And there's that big interception that we wanted. Uh-oh. We're about to get to 31, baby. Second straight week with a pick. Beautiful. And we're going to score quickly right here. Don't be surprised if we score in like one play on a running play or a passing play here. Big play. Jerry Mixon with another pick and a return of 38 yards. Betcher with a pick for 31. And normally when you get a pick, you're not getting that much yardage after, but again, it just feels like anytime Oregon gets a pick, they might take it to the house. And again, they have great blockers that transition from defense to offense when that happens. And again, it felt like Preston Stone, after making a couple good plays to Wilde, that maybe might end up getting a field goal or a touchdown, but not so fast. Oregon shuts that door real quick. And now with 5:18 left in the third, we're about to go up 31-0. And obviously everyone worrying about their bets not cashing in. You can take a sigh of relief. And like I said, sometimes you have to relax, like Aaron Rodgers would say, and just relax, have a little patience, and just let the game come to you. And eventually you're going to get what you want. 24-0 Ducks. Let's go. Yeah, but again, if we end up, keep building the way that we are, there's a chance that the Mariners and the Ducks could both win the championship this year or in the near future. Again, both teams are kind of lined up to do some magical things. And yeah, Mariners have never been to a World Series. And yeah, the first time they go, they might get their ass kicked and get swept or maybe only win one game. But at some point, if we keep building, we're going to end up making one at some point or another. It feels like within the next 10 to 20 years, hopefully within the next 5. And then obviously with Oregon, we're a little bit of ahead of the Mariners, it feels like, but they're kind of hot at the same time. And Oregon feels like as long as Dan Lanning stays for the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to make 1 or 2 natties, and we may not win the first time that we go, but eventually it feels like, we will win one. It's just a matter of time. I mean, what we saw from Aaron Rodgers the last couple years, he was garbage. But, last week in week 1, 4 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he looked like a guy that was in his 20s. So I'm not really saying that Aaron Rodgers is good, but he played good in week 1, and we'll see what he does in week 2. Sometimes when you go to a new team, you have a rebirth in your career. First down, Oregon, and we're about to score here in about 3 plays. I mean, no one thinks Aaron Rodgers is a top 10 quarterback anymore, but he played like a top 10 quarterback in week 1. So sometimes you have to take that in consideration. And especially if your secondary has issues like Reek Woolen, Aaron will be able to dink and doink. And, again, what happened with, the Steelers in week 1 could end up happening in week 2. And again, Seattle is not as good on the road as they are at home, the Hawks. So you better pray that you keep it close, because if you go 0-2, could be a long year. Could be a 7-10 kind of year, 8-9 kind of year, 9-8 kind of year. So, and that's what I was mentioning to Hawk fans at the beginning of the year, but some didn't want to hear it. But again, it is what it is. I mean, it's not like the Rams look that great in the division. They're going to be the front runner to win, but the NFC West looks kind of shitty this year. Obviously the North and Packers look good. Obviously the Eagles look good in the East. Bucks look good in the South, but the NFC West, obviously with Brock Purdy getting hurt, Mac Jones coming in, Cardinals don't look good. Hawks obviously got beat up in week 1, and the Rams barely beat the Texans, but a win is a win. So we'll see where it goes. Second down and 5 here for Oregon. Oregon's threatening to score here quickly. Shotgun set for Dante Moore. Looking towards the sideline. Broken tackle. And diving for the pylon, but just short of the end zone. Great effort there by Oregon and McClellan. Great effort by McClellan, even though he stepped out twice, around that 3-yard line marker. But I love effort, the opposite of what we get from Randy Arosarina in left field. I like effort guys. And, we know we like Randy in the box, but golly, his defense is shitty in left field. First down and goal, and Oregon's going to score here shortly. Shotgun set for Dante Moore. Get it to Dak. Back shoulder fade, and no flag. And there's the flag. There we go, flag on the play. And then now we should be able to hand the ball off right up the middle for a touchdown, unless they give it to Dante Moore with a keeper. Pass interference, defense, number 2. 2-yard line, automatic, first down. The only thing that the Hawks really got going for you is that Purdy and Kittle are injured. So again, the Cardinals aren't good. The Niners are beat up. And again, if you guys can figure a way to just stay afloat, you might be able to get second place in that division, but that may not mean that you're going to the playoffs. First and goal for Dante Moore. Man in motion. Handoff. Touchdown, Oregon. Jordan Davison with the tutty, and this one is a blowout. And it did take a little bit longer than people wanted. 2:56 left in the third, but we're up 30-0, baby. Let's go. Easy touchdown, Ducks. And never doubt us. We start a little slow. People start freaking out. Like, what did they expect this game to be? 80-0? You know, it's not like we're playing in Autzen. Extra point is up and good. 31-0 Oregon. Let's go. We're going to have a chance for the Natty this year. Like I said, Ohio State, great team. You got Georgia, you got Texas, you got LSU. There's a lot of great teams in college football, but just like Joel Klatt and a lot of others, they definitely feel that Oregon's got as good of a chance as anybody besides the Buckeyes to win it all. And I like that. I mean, if they're going to be saying Buckeyes and Oregon got the best chance, we'll take that. And they said that about the two teams last year, and the Buckeyes ended up getting the Natty, and we're definitely desperate and we're thirsty, to be able to get a Natty on our end as well. So at that point, no one can complain and talk shit saying, oh, all you guys have is uniforms and Nike and Phil Knight, but you got no rings. But college football, it's hard to win. Especially on how good Alabama and Georgia were before the NIL, came through. They got all the recruits. So it was pretty much, if you played at Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, those were the only teams that had a shot, right? And then if you had a team that was like Clemson with Dabo or LSU with Joe Burrow, then that's the exception. But it's like 1 year, And again, Michigan obviously ended up bucking the trend with Harbaugh, and they got a Natty, and we're ready for ours. And hopefully Oregon will be able to get one here either this year or next year. I mean, best case scenario, we win this year and next year and impose our will on college football. That would be amazing. But, I mean, all I want to do is see one Natty for Oregon and a championship for the Mariners and the pennant. And if I can get those two things, I think I can die a happy man. 31-0 Oregon. Let's go. Go Ducks. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes. 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's go, baby. All right, we gained 5 subs so far. 72 to go to get to 21,900, 172 to get to 22,000, which we should hit in a few days. Maybe we'll even hit it by this weekend with the Mariner and Angels matchups, obviously later today and tomorrow. And I will be doing Mariners and Angels at 6:40, Mariners tomorrow at 1, and Sunday Night Football with the Vikings and the Falcons, Michael Penix Jr. versus J.J. McCarthy. 31-0. Is that good? On the road? I would say so. And eventually Oregon will be the number 2 team in the land, right there with Ohio State. And again, it's a matter of time. Kickoff to Northwestern, and that's a touchback. Seven deep at running back. Is that good? First down and 10. And I mean, at this point, we want to try to hold them to 0 if we can. 2 picks already. And again, with those picks, we're looking for sack lunches, fumbles for touchdowns, pick sixes. And again, they are going to be obviously throwing the football a lot the rest of the way. So if we end up getting a pick 6 before this game is over, don't be surprised. First down and 10 for Preston Stone. Komolafe and a short gain, and Oregon's defense in the running game has gotten much better as well, only giving up a yard or 2 per carry rather than 3 to 7. Second down and 7 now for the Wildcats. Shotgun set on second down and 7. Throw to the sideline, tipped, and almost picked off by Oregon, incomplete. Third down and 7 for the Ducks. Kennedy in coverage. Yeah, we haven't had depth like this on a roster in a long, long time. And we got second and third stringers in the game right now. So we'll see how good our depth is. And a lot of these second and third stringers would be starters on a lot of college teams in the country. That's how deep we are. 3rd down and 7. Let's see if we bring the blitz. 3rd down and 7. Pressure off the edge. Floater down the field. And incomplete. Great defense there by the Ducks, baby. Let's go. Kennedy. Should have been a penalty on Oregon there for pass interference. Transfer for Ole Miss with the PI that doesn't get called. 4th down and 7. Wildcats with the punt. Gary Bryan at the 20. And here he goes. And nice gang tackle by the Wildcats there. All right, let's see if we can score here quickly again and get it to 38-0 before the third quarter ends. And if we're able to do that, we might actually hit 50. All right, Dante Moore, 31-0 on Northwestern. 1st down and 10 with 1:52, and we want to get to 38 before the third quarter ends. That way we can get into a position to possibly get to 45 or 52 before the game is over. And we definitely want to keep a Northwestern at a 0 to make a statement that we should be the number 2 team in the land next to Ohio State. Shotgun set, handoff, and Hill Jr. now with a short gain. Good gang tackle there by the Wildcats. Gus Johnson got a great voice, man. My idol, man. Love him. I mean, I love me some Ken Griffey Jr., love me some Dad as being the heroes, but as far as announcers and idols, it's Gus, number 1. He's great. Love me some Joel Klatt as well. Shotgun set. Moore with the keeper. Bootleg play action, got a man. And there's a reason why he's a first-round pick. And again, don't be surprised if he gets drafted very, very high. 1st down, Oregon. Much better than Dylan Gabriel. I can't keep talking about the fact, and Gabriel made the NFL, but he's not a first-round pick, and this guy is closer to Bo Nix than Dylan Gabriel, and it's very clear why. 1st down and 10 for the Oregon Ducks. 40 seconds and counting. Great player. Handoff. Little halfback toss. Go, go, go. And runs over a Wildcat there. 2nd down and 3. Yeah, Moore will be a Heisman finalist. There's no doubt about it. Audible at the line as the clock is winding down. Less than 10 seconds to go in the third quarter. And we'll see if they actually hike the ball or they just wait until the beginning of the fourth quarter starts, which it looks like that's what's going to happen. End of the third quarter, 31-0 Oregon. Let's go. Love my Ducks, baby. .178 passing yards. 16 for 19 with a tutty. Is that good? I would say so. Go to the fourth, baby. to get my pup some lunch. I'll be right back. All right, fourth quarter, baby. Still waiting for that big statement fourth quarter play, whether it be a fumble for a touchdown, a pick six. But 31-0 Oregon, looking very, very good. About to go to 3-0, and hopefully we can move up in the rankings slightly. And it doesn't matter if we're 2, 3, or 4. If people want to sleep on the Ducks, they can. And again, we're getting better and better and better each year. And again, Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in college football, if not the best motivator. And again, we're definitely on a mission this year in 2025 after what happened with the Buckeyes and Chip Kelly calling the plays against his former school and them winning the Natty. Go Ducks. Look good, you feel good, you play good. And that's the bottom line. The Stone Cold said so. All right, 15 minutes to go. 31-0 Oregon. And I hope we can keep them at 0, especially when we started off a little slow. Really hard to keep a team at 0, but we are also playing backups. Second, third, and fourth stringers. And we were already doing that in the third quarter. So if we can end up winning, 38-0, 45-0, that would be huge. Fourth shutout through 3 quarters under Dan Lanning, and we want a shutout. All right, here we go. Second down and 3. Let's try to get to 45-0 if we can before this game is over. Play action fake. And Moore going deep on the first play. Intercepted. And that was in triple coverage there. And the first turnover for the Ducks there, getting a little greedy. And again, great play there by Northwestern. And Dante's got to be a little bit better knowing that you're throwing into triple coverage and whatnot. And Dante Moore's got to be better. And I know he wanted to get Dak a touchdown or, a big more-to-more connection, but give Northwestern credit for playing that soft zone, and they get that first interception on Dante Moore. But now let's see if we get it right back with a fumble or a pick. Nice Tampa 2 defense there by Northwestern to get that turnover on Moore. Handoff up the middle. And a short gain there by the Wildcats. Second down and 6 here in the fourth quarter. 31-0, Oregon in firm control, but we want to make sure we hold them to 0 if we can. Should have went to his check down right there, and he'll learn as the season goes on. Second down and 6. Handoff up the middle. Hit him! And just short of the first down marker. Gain of about 4 or 5. Third down and 1 for the Wildcats and Preston Stone. 8 for 17 with 2 picks for Stone. Shotgun set for Stone. Oregon bringing the blitz. Tackle him! And stopping him in the backfield. Good defense there. Fourth down and 1. I mean, if they go for it here, we're going to score in one play. So let's see what they do here. I mean, but they're down 31-0. So ultimately, you have to go for it. All right, here we go. Big fourth down and 1. Let's see if we can get the stop. See if Oregon brings the blitz. I would assume they will. Man in motion. Bring the blitz. And we stop them. Yeah! Yeah, baby. Turnover on downs, baby. There we go. And the Dante Moore interception was for nothing. And now we're about to score here in just about a moment or two. Hell yeah. Size and speed. Not very many teams are going to be able to match up. Nice job, Ducks. Let's go, baby. Go Ducks. Let's get this to 38-0. Snap. We got 4 guys up the middle that are 6'3" or higher, 300 or higher. Ridiculous. We haven't had size like that ever. Defensive tackles, ridiculous. First down and 10. And now Luke Moga is coming in. The backup quarterback. Throw to the sideline to try to get him some experience here, up 31-0. Second down and 5. Trips left with the backup quarterback, Luke Moga. Man in motion. Handoff up the middle, and good defense there by the Wildcats. And if they're going to play conservative ball, it's going to turn into a field goal here in a second. All right, here we go. Third down and 5 with the backup quarterback. Luke Moga, shotgun set. 3 wide receiver set. No, 4 wide receiver set. Throw to the sideline and complete. And the field goal unit will be coming out. And Atticus Sappington should be able to kick this through and make it 34-0. And again, if it ends up being like this the rest of the way, then we're probably only going to get field goals. So it could end up being 37-0 or 40-0. And again, I don't think anyone would complain about that. Kick is up and good. 34-0 Oregon. And maybe that's the only thing that I would want a little bit better for Oregon is the backup quarterback. But, as long as Dante Moore doesn't get hurt, we'll be good to go.
Go Ducks. A few more minutes to go. 11:27 left in the fourth quarter. 34-0 Oregon. We got something special, baby. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's go, baby. Looking forward to some lunch. We'll take my pup on a second walk of the day. And then we'll get prepared for the Seattle Mariners versus the Los Angeles Angels in Game 3 in the set, and I'll be live at 6:40 Pacific. All right, here at Oregon about to kick off. 11:27 left in the fourth quarter. 34-0 Oregon. All right, here we go. First down and 10 for Northwestern. 8 for 17 with 2 picks for Preston Stone, realizing how good this Oregon Duck team is on the road. Even with a slow start in the first quarter, imposing our will. Shotgun set. Stone, pressure on the edge. Get him! And Stone takes off. And a nice game there against our second, third, fourth stringers. First down, Wildcats. Move the chains. And I'm hoping that the second, third, fourth, fifth stringers will be able to still hold them to 0, which will be kind of difficult, but you never know. We do have an excellent depth here in 2025, much better than last year or the year before. Shotgun set, 3 wide receiver set. Stone, hands off. And Hyman with the short gain. 10:35 and counting here in the fourth quarter. Oregon up 34-0. Second down and 6 for Preston Stone. You would assume they'll try to go to Wildy at some point. 4 receptions for 55 yards. That's going to be the guy that gives them the best chance to score besides Hyman. Handoff up the middle. And Hyman with a nice first down. First down, Wildcats. Move the chains.
Good blocking up front there against our backups. .9:30 and counting here in the fourth quarter. First down and 10 for Preston Stone and the Wildcats. Running game has been pretty effective for them here today. And handoff up the middle. And they continue to gain positive yardage on the backups of Oregon here in the fourth quarter. There's still a couple starters that are still kind of mixed in. And Bear Alexander, the transfer from USC, was a huge pickup for Oregon's defense. Less than 9 minutes to go. Second down and 6 for the Wildcats. Man in motion. Shotgun set for Preston Stone. Play action fake. Pressure on the edge. Get him! And throws it long. Throws it deep. And caught! Drew Wagner with the big catch for the Wildcats. First down, Northwestern, and it looks like our chances of holding them to a 0 might be over now. Hopefully we can hold them to 3, but they might end up scoring a tutty here. If we had our starters in, I think we would have kept them at 0, but once you start going with your second, third, fourth, fifth string guys, you know, there's going to be a little bit of lack of depth, especially when they're still playing their first stringers. Nice catch by Drew Wagner for Northwestern. Shotgun set. Handoff, and a big tackle for loss. Jerry Mixon with the tackle, who had an interception earlier in the game. Loss of 5 on that. Second down and goal with 7:40 and counting. Come on, Ducks. Hold them to 0 if we can. And if we can't hold them to 0, let's hold them to a field goal, not a touchdown. Every point counts, especially to the voters. Second and goal on the 14. 7:20 and counting. Shotgun set for Preston Stone. Man in motion. Pressure on the edge. Tipped and incomplete. Ducks getting a hand on that in the secondary. Third down and goal. Lots of freshmen that are out there getting some good playing experience. Let's go, baby. Third and goal. Come on, baby. Second, third, fourth, fifth stringers. Get it done. Third and goal. Shotgun set. Pressure on the edge. Screen pass. Blockers downfield. And just stopped at the 1 yard line. Great tackle there. But I assume they're going to go for it. And Mixon with the tackle there. Mixon with the nice bear tackle. Yeah, they definitely are going for it. 100%. Why would you take 3 when you can try to get 6 here? And let's see if Oregon can hold them. Fourth and goal. And touchdown, Wildcats. If we had our starters in, there probably would have been a chance that we would have been able to stop them. But Komalafe with the tutty, 34-6, Oregon. And we got 6:20 left, and I wouldn't expect any more touchdowns for Oregon, especially if we have the backup quarterback in. But hopefully we'll be able to get at least a field goal before the game is up. Or, we have 6:20 left, so... Northwestern lining up for the extra point, and it is good. 34-7, Oregon. Almost hits the crossbar and misses, but good enough to get in. All right, Oregon, let's see if we can score one more field goal or one more touchdown before this game is over. It's in firm control and good experience for our backups. But again, when you have too many freshmen and too many third, fourth, fifth stringers, eventually, if the other team is playing their first stringers, they're going to score, and they did. Let's go, baby. One more drive. Wow, Georgia Tech beating Clemson. That might be a big upset. Oklahoma beating Temple, 42-3. Bama in firm control, 38-14 over Wisconsin. So not a whole lot of surprises besides the Clemson game. As I'm going through the scoreboard now, and then we're still waiting for Penn State to start. That should be a blowout. And in about 40 minutes, you're going to get Georgia, Tennessee, which was must-see TV. I'll be watching that. Notre Dame and A&M later today. And I'm curious on how USF and Miami, since Miami is ranked so high, but USF has had a couple upsets already early in the season, and they have a chance. It's not like Ward is at quarterback for Miami this year, so we'll see how that goes. Well, right now, they're in the fourth quarter, and Georgia Tech is up by a touchdown, but Clemson has the ball. So it's still possible that Clemson comes back and wins. But, Klubnik and Arch Manning might be the two most overrated quarterbacks in college football in the preseason going into, obviously this year. And obviously we know Texas's defense is for real. Top three, with Ohio State and whatnot. But, sometimes, contenders turn into pretenders pretty early in the year. But it's not a final score just yet for Georgia Tech. 34-7 Oregon, and hopefully we can add on another field goal or touchdown before this one is over. But Dante Moore's day is done, and Moga, our backup, is not very good. So again, I wouldn't expect a whole lot from him besides handing the ball off. And if we do score a touchdown, it's going to be a running back. It probably won't be a receiver. So. All right, here we go. 6:20 to go. Wildcats here about to punt, or not, kick off. And fair caught at the 5 or 4 yard line. Montana State, Oklahoma State, we took care of business, and I already knew that today was going to be lower scoring than those two games on the road. But at the end of the day, a win is a win, but hopefully we can get at least one more field goal before the game is up. I would love a touchdown, but, Moga kind of stinks. He's not very good. So, Dante Moore is a first-round pick, Heisman, candidate. Moga, if Moga was our starter, we wouldn't even be talking about Oregon Duck football right now. So, again, we have other guys like Achilles Smith Jr. and a few others. We'll definitely be able to find another quarterback on the Dante Moore level next year. Realistically, he'll go to the draft as a first-round pick. But, hopefully he doesn't get hurt and we can continue our dominance here. Go Ducks, go Mariners. All day, every day. And I'm glad that the Mariner game isn't on at 1. I'm happy that I have at least a 5-hour break in between. I rest my voice up a little bit, spend time with my pup, eat some lunch, and then we'll be right back at it. 6:40 Pacific, Mariners and Angels. It's going to be a fun year for both teams, Ducks and Mariners. Yeah, it's 27.5, right? And we're only up by 27. So we got to be able to get at least a field goal at this point. So, but again, that's why the spread is that way, because they know, again, there's a reason why, whenever something looks like a for sure thing, it's not, that's why the bookies in the Vegas line typically wins. And we don't have Dante Moore in now. So, realistically, they may not win by the spread. I mean, it really just depends if we can end up getting one more field goal here. And depending on what Northwestern does on their end with 6:20 to go. Research needs to be done before you bet. Go Ducks. Captain in the building. What's good, brother? How's your new job going? Mariners playing great. Winning those 2 games in Atlanta, right? Scoring 28 runs, 31 hits, and 10 homers. Gave us the springboard, confidence to be able to sweep the Cardinals. I believe that we're going to sweep the Angels. And we got Wu and Kirby on the mound today and tomorrow. And then all we got to do is go 8-4 the rest of the way against the Royals and Astros on the road, Rockies and Dodgers at home. Nice run there by Oregon. First down, Ducks. There we go. And I assume that we're not going to throw the ball that much with Luke Moga. And we're just going to hand it off, and hopefully we get to 41. But we've been definitely tearing it up with the likes and the subs and the views and the donos. Yeah, man, we've been definitely taking off with the numbers, which is great to see. So, and it doesn't really matter if we're doing Ducks or NFL games for, Monday night, Sunday night football. Mariner streams have definitely, hit a new level. And again, if we can continue to, keep dominating, we're going to be able to hit numbers that we haven't seen on the channel ever. So looking forward to that. 2nd down and 7. And let's see what Will Stein got in his back pocket here for Oregon. 5:20 and counting here in the 4th quarter. 2nd down and 7, and no reason really to throw the ball the rest of the way, but we'll see what we do here. Handoff with the draw up the middle, and a good tackle there by the Wildcats. 3rd down and long. 3rd down and 7. The back-to-back extra inning games kind of killed me, though. 4-hour streams back-to-back. Started to lose the voice a little bit, but we're going to be doing 2 streams a day, 2 streams tomorrow, and then we'll be doing the Bucks and the Texans on Monday night. And there's 2 games on Monday night for a doubleheader, so should be a fun weekend. 3rd down and 7. Shotgun set. Moga towards the sideline. There we go. First down, Ducks. There we go, baby. Move the chains. Yeah, he played. But they definitely started to go through their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th stringers in the mid-3rd quarter and 4th quarter. So, 1st down and 10 for Moga. Handoff. And short gain there. Good tackle there by the Wildcats. Yeah, I saw that. Clemson is losing in the 4th to Georgia Tech. They're overrated. I think Klubnik and, again, Arch Manning might be the 2 most overrated quarterbacks. I know Arch looked terrible against Ohio State, and when he plays shitty teams, he'll look better, but there's quite a few quarterbacks that look better than those 2. at least early in the season. But Clemson does have the ball with 5 minutes to go, down by 7. So you never know. Second down and 9. Shotgun set from Oga. And floated that one a little too high for his intended receiver. Incomplete. Oh, now they got Thomas in the game. They're going to their third string quarterback. I thought Moga was still in there. And then we got the Beavers at home, which will win by 30, 40, 50 points. And then the first potential loss at Penn State. That'll be the toughest test of the year besides playing the Huskies in Seattle on the road for the last regular season game of the Big Ten. You know, Oregon's going to go 10-2 if we lose to Penn State and Washington, 11-1 if we lose to Penn State, and then obviously 12-0 if we beat Penn State and the Huskies more than likely. They used him more for special teams rather than a receiver today, unfortunately. It's like they didn't even go to Whittington at running back. You know, they were going with, we were like 5 deep at running back. But yeah, that's why, it's not really that smart to be betting a whole lot on the spread or players in college football. 4th down and 9, 34-7 Oregon. And of course the spread is 27.5. So if Oregon doesn't get another field goal, a lot of people are going to lose money. But again, that's why you don't bet, because again, the spread knows, Vegas knows exactly what they're doing. That's why they have that extra 0.5. That's how they get you. Yeah, Clemson is threatening. 3rd and 2 on the Georgia Tech 4. I'll look for you right now. No, he didn't get any. He just played special teams today. Handoff up the middle by Northwestern on 1st down and 10, short gain. All right, here we go. 2nd down and 5. 34-7 Oregon. We got Brian Wu on the mound and George Kirby tomorrow. So I feel confident that we can win both of those games and sweep the Angels. If it's in the regular season, we typically split, but we're on fire right now. 7 games in a row. We're at home. We win those 9 in a row. Then we just go 8-4 the rest of the way. Lose maybe a game to the Astros, maybe a game to the Royals, maybe 1 or 2 to the Dodgers, and that's it. And then sweep the Rockies, and then we go 90 wins. So, it's definitely attainable to be able to beat the Astros for first place. But that's we have to go 15-4 the rest of the way, and it looks like we have a good chance of doing that, which it sounded kind of crazy when I mentioned it, a week ago, but here we are. We're on the cusp of potentially doing it. 2-minute warning, 34-7 Oregon. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything. I do college football for the Ducks. I do Mariners full time, so I'm the only one that does Ducks. I'm the only one that does Mariners. So I got those markets on lock. I do NFL games for Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night. I do a little bit of NBA and NHL, when it's that season. I do WWE, PLEs once a month, sometimes Monday Night Raw. And then once in a blue moon, if there's a UFC or a boxing match that's worth covering, sometimes that as well. And I do NASCAR, Trucks, Xfinity, as well as a NASCAR Cup Series. So this is one of the only channels on YouTube that does everything. And that is very rare. We're the most versatile channel that does sports and wrestling on YouTube. So but it takes a lot of effort, but but we love it here. 34-7 Oregon. I feel bad for the people that ended up betting on the spread, but this is exactly the reason why you don't bet on college football. Because that 0.5 was put there for a reason, and they know exactly what they're doing. There's a reason why the house wins most of the time. Vegas wins most of the time. I'm ready for some fucking lunch. I haven't even had breakfast yet either. Huskies and Cougs next week. That'll be a big win by the Huskies, no doubt about that. We're going to do our Civil War. You guys are going to do your Apple Cup. Huskies will win against the Cougs, but that'll be a closer game than against Oregon and Oregon State, which we're going to obliterate them. They're about to go 0-3. And again, it's going to be one of the worst Beaver seasons in probably 20 years. So, even though it might be a civil war, not this year. And we're playing at home, so Beaver fans are going to be depressed. First and goal on the Georgia Tech 2, so it looks like Clemson's going to tie the game up more than likely, but Georgia Tech will have enough time to kick a field goal and win more than likely. Sarah in the building, what's good? Yeah, we played a lot of the second, third, fourth, fifth string freshmen, in the halfway through the third quarter and the fourth. Otherwise, we probably would have gotten to at least in the mid-40s, but, it is what it is. And then obviously if we would have had our starters in, they probably wouldn't have scored anything, and it would have been 34-0, but, still a dominant win on the road, even though we started slow. Not every game is going to be outs in there. Uh-oh, he broke away. Down the sideline. Get him, Oregon. Uh-oh. And touchdown, Northwestern. And it shows you when you have second, third, fourth, fifth stringers, then they end up scoring. And a big touchdown from Northwestern. That was cheap. Sarah with a fiver. Not happy about that. But again, when you end up having backups in the game, that's what happens. Stacks, racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Thank you so much. $5 holla on the Dono train. And I'll be live for the Mariner game later today. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Big touchdown by the Wildcats there. Reeder, 1 carry for 79 yards. That's unacceptable, Oregon. I don't care if you're a freshman out there. Can't let that happen. Extra point is up and good. 34-14, and I hope that we can get at least a field goal here, but I imagine they're just going to try to bleed the clock and end the game, but we're going to have to get a couple first downs. Yeah, well, they were going to lose the bet anyways when it was 34-7 because we were only up by 27 and they needed to win by, the bet was 27.5. So they had to be able to score a field goal for anyone to bet and win. So regardless if they would have scored that touchdown or not, the bettors were going to lose if they bet on the spread. So that's why you don't bet on college football. That's why you don't bet on sports unless you want to lose your money. So but a lot of attaboys there for Deshaun Reeder. Good for him. 79-yard touchdown, rumbling and a bumbling down that sideline. And let's see if we can get one more field goal or touchdown before this game is over. Damn, 93? No, thank you. I'm happy that we don't have any temperatures above 80 for the next 6 months. It was way too hot here in Oregon during summer. Paisley's in the other room waiting for Dad. So Paisley says, woof, woof. Bow, wow. A lot of good college football games on after this that I'm going to be watching. And I, would hope that some of you guys will be tuning in as well. Georgia, Tennessee coming up in 22 minutes. Must-see TV. USF in Miami. USF could win that. Must-see TV. And then the last matchup, A&M and Notre Dame. So I'll be watching all 3 of those games before we get into the Mariner stream here at 6:40 Pacific. No games with 0 penalties since at least 2000, and we have 0 today. The Ducks are so disciplined this year compared to last year. Woof, woof. Yeah, we don't want to jinx them with the penalty here. Hill. And a nice rush there. And then there comes a penalty flag. Motherfuck. And that might be a hold on Oregon. Son of a bitch. They put up the graphic too early, those bastards. Hopefully that's on the defense. Please. Personal foul. Face mask. Yes, it's on the defense. Woo! Hell yeah. Automatic first down. There we go. I got scared there for a second. We want to have 0 penalties for the game. Big face mask by Northwestern there. Yeah, college football's a lot of fun, a lot more camaraderie and whatnot. And, we'll see how the NFL looks. You got a big game this weekend. Chiefs on the cusp of going 0-2 against the Eagles. And again, right now it looks like the Packers, Eagles, and Bucks are the best in the NFC, especially after we beat the Texans on Monday night. I'll stream that. And then again, Chiefs used to be the top dog, but we'll see how the Bills and the rest look in the AFC. It definitely feels like it's different in 2025. Could be the first year in a while that we haven't seen the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, especially if they start off 0-2. Yeah, USF Miami is going to be really good, and USF has looked good this year. A couple upsets already, in the first 2 games, and Miami doesn't have Cam Ward, so that is a winnable game for South Florida. Yeah, I've watched them. Again, I love college football, bro. Like, I do a lot of scouting. That's the reason why I feel I'm so on point on NFL coverage is because of how much college I watch as well. So I try to watch about 3 to 5 games on Saturday and 3 to 4 games on Sunday. So, and there are the Ducks with the kneel down. And of course, we would love to have won 34-0, but again, when you end up playing backup, stuff happens. And now the clock is winding down. Final score, Oregon Ducks 34, Northwestern 14. Appreciate you guys, and I love you guys very, very much. And again, we'll be live for the Mariners and the Angels at 6:40. I'm starving, so I got to be able to eat a little bit of lunch here. Shout out to the 5 to 10 subs that we have acquired. Looks like we gained another one here. We only need 71 to go to be able to hit our number. I mean, we hit 21.7 and then 21.8, and now we're on the cusp of 21.9. Hell, we might get to 22,000 within a week or two, maybe even in a few days, based on the rate that we've been going. And great win for the Oregon Ducks. We improved to 3-0, and I hope everyone else enjoys everything that we got. And love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. And again, I got one question for you. Who talks sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. And again, I will be live for the Mariners and Angels at 6:40 Pacific. Tomorrow we'll be doing Mariners and Sunday Night Football back-to-back. And then on Monday, we'll be doing the Buccaneers and the Texans for Monday Night Football, even though there is a doubleheader after that game as well. Appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys at the Mariners stream. And go Ducks. I'm out.